Chapter 1839. Yun Shishir was amused by him. Because she was wearing a gown, she couldn't squat down and carry him. She could only lean over and pat his little head gently. She comforted him and said, You, Auntie is just joking with you. How could Mommy bear to abandon you? You're Mommy's baby. You're Mommy's favorite little sweetheart. Mommy can't bear to abandon you. Okay. Yu nodded and stuck out his tongue mischievously. He was so cute. Xiao Yichen ridiculed him from the side. It was obvious that this guy was saying sweet nothings on purpose to win Mommy's favor. Zhongli pretended to be aggrieved and tugged at his sleeve. Yu, don't take it seriously. Auntie is just joking with you. Yu, don't be angry. Auntie is teasing you because she likes you. Alright. Yu, don't be angry. Don't be angry. Yu thought to himself, I'm not angry, but can you not tug at my sleeve? I don't like you. In his heart, Zhongli was already on par with the child abductor auntie. Children didn't like such jokes from adults. What child exchange? He didn't want that. He only had one mommy. No one could take her away from him. Zhongli looked at Yu and said enviously, Shishir, you're so lucky. Look at your son. He's so obedient. That daughter of mine, let alone being easily coaxed, even a lollipop would foolishly run away with someone else. You can't lose your son. Look, he's so clingy to you. No one can coax him away. Yu sticks to me the most. In the past, there were colleagues who joked about this. At that time, Yu was still young. She was so scared that she threw herself into my arms and cried loudly. Many people tried to comfort her in a flurry, but they managed to. Yun Shishir recalled that when Yu was 4 years old, one of her colleagues saw how cute Yu was and wanted to carry him home to play with. Hence, she deliberately lied to Yu that she wanted to bring him home to be her son. Yu was so scared that she broke down and cried. In the end, her eyes were red and swollen. She was extremely sad. Zhongli continued, Then, Yu, are you willing to be my son-in-law? Son-in-law. Yu pretended not to understand. She widened her eyes in confusion, but the image of Qianqian's unreasonable behavior appeared in her mind. She was speechless. That's right. In the future, you'll be my son-in-law and marry Qianqian. Are you willing? Zhongli teased him. Yu immediately shook his head like a rattledrum. He did not want that. That Qianqian was unreasonable and arrogant. He did not want such an uncute wife. Zhongli's expression became awkward. She could not get out of this embarrassing situation in front of everyone. She felt that her daughter was being despised by Yu. She forced a smile and asked, Why not? Because I want to stay by Mommy's side for the rest of my life. I don't want to get married. A naive and childish remark cleverly dispelled the awkward atmosphere and made the guests burst into laughter. It had to be said that Yu's IQ was extremely high. His EQ was also much higher than many adults. He knew how to save face for others. When he saw that Zhongli was embarrassed, he deliberately said such childish words to tell her that he was not willing because he wanted to stay by Mommy's side for the rest of his life. Zhongli was laughing in her heart, but her face was full of joy. This child is really smart. Ha! This little fellow. Chapter 1840. Even though she felt that it might not be a good thing for her child to stay by her side for the rest of his life. The child would eventually grow up. Even though she had raised him painstakingly, she still wished him well and hoped that there would be a considerate girl by his side. Even though she could not bear to part with Yu, she would not tie him down for the rest of his life. It was said that when a child grew up and a girl was about to get married, a father would feel as if a knife was being twisted in his heart, as if he had fallen out of love. Similarly, when a boy was about to get married, a mother would feel as if she was facing a great enemy. However, when the time came, she would still hope that her son would be happy. Our Chan likes you a lot. She has always said that she wants to marry you when she grows up. Jiangli continued to encourage him. Yu, it's good that you marry our Chan. Think about it, you will definitely get married in the future. Even though you said that you want to stay by your mommy's side for the rest of your life, boys will eventually have to start their own families and careers when they grow up. Even if you say that you don't want her now, who knows, when a girl beckons you with her finger when you grow up, you might not want your mommy anymore. When that time comes, you will also have a wife. How will you still care about your mommy? However, Yu said mischievously, no, I won't. Mommy is my precious baby. How can I not want my mommy? The first criterion for me to marry a wife is to be filial to my mommy. Otherwise, I won't want her no matter how pretty she is. Ha ha ha. I didn't expect such a young child to be so filial. He's not simple. Yes. Most of the children nowadays are very willful. Yu is so sensible. It seems that Shishir has taught him well. Xiao Yichen added, I don't want to get married in the future either. I just want to stay by mommy's side until we grow old. When mommy is old, I want to hold her hand and take care of her. Jiangli was so jealous when she heard this. She thought about her spoiled daughter. She was so arrogant and willful. Not only was she immature, but she would also say things like, Mommy is so mean. Mommy doesn't dote on Chan at all. Chan doesn't want mommy anymore. Compared to Yu's willful words, she was so envious that her eyes almost turned red. Thinking of this, she suddenly felt a little resentful and said, Sure. Let me pinch you. You're so lucky. If I had two such sensible and obedient sons, would wake up laughing even in my dreams. That daughter of mine only knows how to make me angry, but she's not sensible at all. Sigh, everyone says that girls are more sensible than boys, but now, this notion has really been shattered. Xiao Shui chimed in from the side, Sure is very lucky. Look, she has such cute Xiao Bao and such a handsome husband. I can't be envious. Jiangli joked, Sure, don't you know how lucky you are? I must cherish the happiness I have now. A man as handsome as your husband who knows how to take care of you and dote on you is rare nowadays. You have to work harder to tie his heart down. If you don't keep a close eye on him, such a handsome husband will be taken away by another woman. You'll cry yourself to death. As soon as she finished speaking, the room fell into an awkward silence. It had to be said that Jiang Li's words were truly inappropriate. Chapter 1841. This person had just gotten engaged, yet she said such a thing. What did she mean by, don't let other women lead you away? How could she make such an inappropriate joke in such an occasion? Jiang Li was not very knowledgeable. She usually stayed at home to take care of the children, and the people she interacted with were mostly young mothers. As a result, she lacked social skills. Hence, her low EQ was vividly reflected in this sentence. These words made Yun Shishir feel rather awkward. Even though she knew that Jiang Li did not have any ill intentions, and the subjective meaning of her words was to express her envy of her good fortune, it still made others feel uncomfortable. Xiao Shui also felt awkward. She did not expect Jiang Li to make such a joke. Hence, she tugged at Jiang Li's sleeve awkwardly. Jiang Li belatedly realized that her words were somewhat inappropriate in such a situation. Thus, she also felt embarrassed. Mu Yaja smiled elegantly and suddenly said, My wife is very good. Everyone was stunned and looked at him. However, as he smiled, he lowered his gaze and gazed tenderly at Yun Shishir's side profile. The tenderness in his eyes seemed to be able to squeeze water out of them. Even though he hadn't said anything, everyone in the room was caught off guard and fed a mouthful of dog food. Although the words, "My wife is very good," did not have any flowery words, the adoration in them was obvious. Muyaja said casually, "With my wife around, no other woman can enter my eyes." His eyes were filled with her. His heart was filled with her. Who else could there be in his heart? Muyaja was not joking when he said this. It was from the bottom of his heart. Zhongli was so envious that her eyes were sore. How romantic! Thinking about her husband, who was like a block of wood, when had he ever said such gentle and romantic words to her? Not to mention, "I love you," even when they quarreled, he had never coaxed her or compromised. Zhongli suddenly stopped talking. At this moment, she felt aggrieved. Perhaps it was because other people's happiness was too dazzling that she felt envious and jealous. Yun Shishir smiled when she heard this. She turned her head and gazed at him gently. Then, she curved her lips and whispered in a voice that only he could hear, "My husband is also very good. You know what? I've never envied anyone when I'm with you." Perhaps, there was nothing more blissful than this. She had never envied anyone else for being able to hold his hand and be with him. Therefore, she felt that she was the happiest woman in the world to have him. Yun Yeqing, who was standing at the side, was so touched that his eyes were about to tear up. He rubbed his eyes with his handkerchief, but he couldn't suppress the excitement in his heart. Perhaps, before today, he still had some doubts about this man's feelings. Did this man really love his daughter? Was he really sincere to his daughter? Could his daughter really be happy with him? There were so many question marks that he couldn't sleep well on the night before the engagement banquet. However, when he heard Muyaja's words, his heart immediately calmed down. Chapter 1842. His greatest wish was for his daughter to be happy. Now that he had fulfilled one of his wishes, he felt a sense of relief. Yun Yeho was also very emotional. He held his brother's hand and said happily, "Brother, you're so lucky. You can rest assured that Shishir has met such a good man." "Yes." Yun Yeqing was still touched. Looking at Yun Shishir, he vaguely recalled the first time they met. When she was 9 years old, he saw her for the first time in the welfare home. At that time, she was skinny and tattered from head to toe. He could tell that her clothes were old and dirty. In the dormitory, she was huddled alone in a corner, hugging her knees helplessly. She looked around vigilantly at her surroundings with a blank and frightened gaze. When she saw him, she shrank into an even smaller ball in fear. She was like an injured animal, isolated and helpless. At that time, that pair of hurt and tired eyes touched him all of a sudden. Because of that fragile gaze, he felt a stab in his heart. At that moment, he decided to adopt this child without hesitation. Even if Li Qin protested, he did not care at all. When he brought her home, he doted on and protected her, treating her as if she was his own. Gradually, a father-daughter relationship developed between them. Even though there was no blood bond between them, he had never treated her as an outsider. She relied on him. He also doted on her like his own daughter. Humans were soft-hearted. Yun Na was insensible and disobedient, always making him angry and furious. Yun Shishir, on the other hand, cherished this hard-won kinship very much. When Yun Shishir was young, she adopted a stray dog, although it was later thrown away by Li Qin. This dog was very playful and adorable. Yun Shishir brought it home because she pitied it when she saw the children bullying it. Perhaps it was because it had been homeless since it was young, but after it was adopted, it was very obedient and never caused any trouble. Perhaps it was because it had been homeless and lonely for too long that it cherished this warmth more than its own life. Yun Shishir must be the same. It was precisely because she had been homeless and helpless when she was young that she wanted to work hard to protect her family when she had a home. He had never had it before, so he treasured it even more. Now, she had grown up and was standing beside another man. Her eyes were filled with happiness and her smile was like a flower. Yun Yeching, on the other hand, felt as if a lifetime had passed. She finally had a home of her own. He was happy for her. His beloved daughter had finally met the most important man in her life. Gong Jia stood silently by the side without any expression on his face. But when he saw the happy smile on Yun Shishir's face, his heart was touched. At the banquet, guests kept coming up to them to offer their heartfelt blessings. Especially when the royal ministers, princes, princesses, and the country's president kissed her and gave her their blessings, Yun Shishir was flattered. She disappointingly thought that she had only seen these big shots on TV. She did not expect to receive their blessings today. She silently thought to herself, can I ask them for their autographs? If Yu knew what she was thinking, he would definitely hate her for failing to live up to his expectations. Just as everyone finished giving their blessings, Gong Jia suddenly walked towards her. Chapter 1843. What beautiful fireworks! Yun Shishir held his arm and leaned on his shoulder. Did you prepare all of this? He asked her, do you like it? I like it. I like it so much. I really like it. Yun Shishir was touched. Thank you. Muyaja. He caught on to her faulty wording and raised his eyebrows in dissatisfaction. What should you call me? Her face was a little red. She pursed her lips and said embarrassedly, isn't it inappropriate to call you husband now? If you can't call me that now, how long are you going to wait? Are you going to wait until my hair turns white? Until you call me hubby? Muyaja said half jokingly, half seriously, the engagement party is already held. Are you still thinking of running away from the marriage? Yun Shishir pushed his shoulders shyly and said unhappily, no. You know that's not what I meant. Then what should you call me? Muyaja patiently guided her. Yun Shishir pouted and then secretly looked at his meaningful expression. Suddenly, she plucked up her courage and called, hubby. Good girl. My wife. He hugged her and kissed her amidst the fireworks and under everyone's stunned gazes. A bunch of fireworks slowly rose in the night sky and bloomed in the night sky. The romantic scene was frozen at this moment. It was nighttime. Muyaja was still entertaining the guests at the cocktail party. She returned to her room early and changed into her pajamas. Just as she was about to go to the bathroom to wash off her heavy makeup, her phone rang at the wrong time. She walked to the sofa in a light mood and hummed a song. She took out her phone from her bag and glanced at the screen. However, when she saw the name on the screen, her heart skipped a beat. Yun Shishir could not help but feel suffocated. The words Gu Xingze continued to jump along with the ringtone. She actually felt inexplicably flustered. She glanced at the door before picking up the phone. Her heartbeat instantly sped up. Hello. Xingze. Shishir, where are you? On the other end, Gu Xingze's heavy and tired voice suddenly rang out. I heard that you had something to do, so the roadshow that was originally scheduled for today was postponed. Gu Xingze added. Only then did Yun Shishir remember that the production team of The Green Apple had entered the promotional period and had started to hold a nationwide roadshow. The premiere was originally scheduled for today, but because she had applied for leave, Lin Fengtian had to postpone it for a few days. Initially, she was quite embarrassed. Because of her personal matters, she had affected the entire crew's schedule. She felt extremely guilty. However, Lin Fengtian had said that she was the female lead and that anyone could be absent except for her. Therefore, he did not hesitate to postpone the premiere. She was both grateful and guilty. However, Lin Fengtian laughed and said, no matter how important it is not as important as your life. It's fine. Hence, when she received the superstar's call, the first thing she felt was immense guilt. Yes, on the other end, Gu Xingzi said slowly in an eerily calm voice, I also heard that you are engaged. But you didn't invite me. Why? Gu Xingzi's slightly helpless voice made her heart beat even faster. He asked her why she did not invite him. Chapter 1844. It was because she was afraid. Afraid of his rejection. Afraid that Mu Yaja would be unhappy because of it. Yun Shushu remained silent, not knowing how to speak. On the other end, Gu Xingzi was silent for a while and said helplessly, I thought that I shouldn't be absent for such an important event. But I didn't receive your invitation. He suddenly took a deep breath and, as if he had used up all his energy, questioned her silently, Sure, maybe I don't have the chance to work hard, but are you so stingy to give me the chance to give you my blessings? Are you so stingy to give me the chance to give you my blessings? His voice was filled with bitterness. Her mind went blank at that moment. I thought that you didn't want to come. I thought, you might not wish me well. Ha, he let out an indifferent laugh and said in a self-deprecating manner, I don't want to hear words that are too fake and insincere. You're too full of yourself. What do you mean by, you thought? Suddenly, he said again, if you're really happy, what reason do I have not to give you my blessings? If you're really happy, what reason do I have, not to give up on you? The last 4 words seemed to have escaped from the roots of his teeth as if he was gnashing his teeth. Yun Shushu was stunned. For a moment, her heart was in a mess and she didn't know how to respond to him. At least let me give up, right? At least let me see with my own eyes how happy you are before I can truly let go, right? Gu Xingzi suddenly broke down and said, at least give me a chance to give up, right? Yun Shushu bit her lower lip hard and continued to take deep breaths. The guilt in her heart was still gushing out like an overflowing flood. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Xingzi. Other than the words, I'm sorry, she didn't know what else to say. Gu Xingzi, on the other hand, was upset and inexplicably anxious. He raised his voice slightly and said unhappily, I didn't call to hear you say those words. Yun Shushu pursed her lips, not knowing what to say. On the other end, Gu Xingzi fell into a long silence. Finally, he took a deep breath and said in a hoarse voice, listen, Shushu, I've let go. You should be satisfied. You don't have to be on guard against me anymore. I've let go. I won't love you anymore, and I won't pester you anymore. I'm calling to wish you a happy engagement. I don't have any other intentions, so you don't have to think too much. She smiled. Thank you, Xing. Before she could finish her sentence, the person on the other end hastily hung up the phone. Beep, 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 a series of busy tones made her brain completely tense up. Yun Shushu's face froze, but she didn't react for a long time. In the Qingqing apartment, Gu Xingzi fell onto the sofa. His grip loosened as if he had lost all his strength. His phone fell onto the floor. Bang! The phone fell onto the floor. A crack appeared on the screen and it broke. Initially, he hadn't called to wish her well. He actually wanted to ask her, why does it have to be Mu Yaja? Could it be that he couldn't do it? He could also give her happiness. But at the same time, he asked himself, why does it have to be Yun Shushu? Why couldn't it be other women? Chapter 1845. In the end, he even forgot what he wanted to say. He gave her a fake blessing and hurriedly hung up the phone. If he had listened to her voice for one more second, he would have broken down. Gu Xingzi raised his head and looked at the ceiling with a pair of hollow eyes. His gaze was numb, but it was as if he wanted to look through the ceiling. This was the first time he had fallen deeply in love with someone, but in the end, she had pushed him away. So this was what it felt like to be abandoned. Gu Xingzi clenched his fists unwillingly. His fingernails dug into his palms, but his senses seemed to be numb and he could not feel any pain. Or perhaps the pain in his heart was so excruciating that his senses seemed to be numb and he could not feel any pain at all. In the end, he had lost, even the chance to work hard. Qin-zhou knocked on the door for a long time, but there was no response. He took out his keys and opened the door. When he entered, he saw that the living room was dark. He turned on the lights and saw Gu Xingze sitting on the sofa. He was expressionless and looked at the ceiling indifferently. His cell phone had fallen to the side and the screen was broken. He immediately walked up to him. "What's wrong?" Gu Xingze did not speak. Qin-zhou frowned. He had no idea what had happened. He frowned and teased him half-jokingly, "Why do you look like your soul has left your body? What happened?" "Nothing." Gu Xingze was inexplicably irritable. He glared at him and said impatiently, "What could have happened to me?" As he spoke, he stood up from the sofa and stumbled toward the table. He had not been able to sleep properly for 2 days and 2 nights. Hence, he was in a daze. He supported himself on the table and held the cup with difficulty. His back view was inexplicably stiff and cold. Behind him, Qin-zhou was at a loss for a moment. Then, he pursed his lips and said awkwardly, "You seem to be in a bad mood today." "Shut up." Gu Xingze suddenly threw the cup on the floor and turned around angrily. "I told you to be quiet." Qin-zhou was rather shocked. This seemed to be the first time she had been so angry at him since they met. In the past, although Xingzhe's personality was a little cold, even if he was in a bad mood, he would quietly close himself up from the beginning to the end. He would never throw such a big tantrum. Qin-zhou was completely dumbfounded by this furious roar. Just as he was about to lose his temper, he saw Gu Xingze's body sway. He immediately went forward to support his arm. As soon as she got close to him, she smelled the strong scent of alcohol. "You drank?" Gu Xingze impatiently pushed him aside and said coldly, "It's none of your business." "What do you mean it's none of my business? How can I not care about you when you look like this?" Qin-zhou did not give up and went forward to support his arm. Gu Xingze seemed to have lost all his strength. His body tilted and he leaned weakly against Qin-zhou. Even though his entire body was weak, he still pushed him away regardless. "Let go of me. Leave me alone." Qin-zhou did not know whether to laugh or cry, as if he was coaxing a willful child. He said, "I want to let go of you, but now, you're clearly the one leaning on me." Gu Xingze was about to speak when he suddenly coughed violently. Cough, cough, cough. Chapter 1846. At first, he thought that he was just coughing a few times, but in the end, it was getting out of hand and he was coughing as if he had overdrawn his energy. Qin-zhou's half-joking expression suddenly disappeared and he anxiously held him up. However, he realized that Gu Xingze's originally fair face was now pale. "What's wrong with you?" Qin-zhou was extremely worried. From the looks of it, it seemed like his stomach was acting up. He had a very serious stomach problem and he rarely drank. It wasn't that he couldn't hold his liquor, but if he drank too much alcohol, his stomach problem would act up. The last time his stomach problem acted up, it was because he drank a few glasses of wine at a social event. At the hotel, Gu Xingze had just opened the door when he fainted at the entrance. He was hurriedly sent to the hospital, where they found out that his stomach was bleeding. This time, his symptoms were exactly the same as the previous time. Qin-zhou couldn't help but wonder if he had drunk too much alcohol after not eating for 2 days and 2 nights. At the thought of this, Qin-zhou supported him and walked out of the door without any explanation. Gu Xingze pushed him away and frowned. "What are you doing?" "I'm taking you to the hospital. Looking at you, I'm worried that your stomach is acting up. Get lost." Gu Xingze pushed him away in frustration. "Why are you haunting me like a ghost? Did I ask you to control me?" "Xingze, don't be willful. Your body is already like this and you're still drinking. Have you ever thought about your own health? I don't need to think. I just want to be quiet and don't let anyone disturb me. Whether it's you or anyone else, stay away from me. Gu Xing's eyes were filled with anxiety. After he finished speaking expressionlessly, his body swayed and he finally couldn't take it anymore. His vision turned black and he lost consciousness. On the other end, Yun Shishir stared at the phone screen with her mouth agape. Looking at the phone that had been hung up, she couldn't calm down for a long time. Suddenly, a devilish voice came from behind her. What are you doing? Yun Shishir jumped in shock. In her great shock, the phone slipped from her hand due to her nervousness and fell to the ground with a loud thud. Ah! She turned around abruptly, only to see Mu Yaja standing behind her without her knowing. Her eyes widened in shock, and due to an inexplicable fluster, her expression became a little unnaturally nervous. When did you come in? Mu Yaja looked at her calmly. His deep eyes fell on her face, but he smiled. Just now. Just now. Yes. Why didn't you knock before coming in? When Mu Yaja heard this, he raised his head and elegantly looked around the room. He asked calmly, "This is our room. I don't think I need to knock on the door." There was panic in Yun Shishir's eyes. She patted her thundering chest, clearly frightened by his sudden appearance. She rebuked, "Why are you like a cat? You don't even make a sound when you walk. I didn't even notice you standing behind me. You were too engrossed in the phone call." Mu Yaja paused and looked at the phone that had fallen on the floor. His eyes flashed with suspicion. "Who were you calling?" "I didn't call anyone." Yun Shishir was a little flustered. She immediately bent down as if she had a guilty conscience and wanted to pick up the phone. Chapter 1847. She didn't know why, but when her phone fell into his hands, her heart started beating wildly uncontrollably. What about me?" Mu Yaja laughed. "Why are you stammering? It's as if you have a guilty conscience." Yun Shishir's heart skipped a beat as she looked at him in disbelief. Mu Yaja pretended to examine her expression seriously and suddenly asked in a deep voice, "You look so nervous. Are you doing something bad behind my back?" "No." Yun Shishir immediately snatched the phone from his hands and casually made up an excuse. "I just wanted to see if my phone was broken." As she said this, she seriously examined the screen to see if it was cracked. Mu Yaja looked at the phone and then at her before asking out of the blue, "Who's calling?" Mu Yaja frowned. "You can't tell me." "No," Yun Shishir explained awkwardly, "it was Qin Zhou who called. He informed me of the upcoming schedule and asked me to prepare for the premiere of The Green Apple." Mu Yaja pursed his lips and stared at her. Suddenly, his lips curled up and he said, "Are you lying?" "No." Yun Shishir felt extremely guilty, but she still straightened her back and looked up at him. "What do you mean by lying?" "I'm just telling the truth." "All right, I'm just teasing you." Upon hearing this, Yun Shishir's face turned pale. The huge rock that had been hanging in her throat finally fell to the ground. She relaxed for a moment but was shocked to find that she was breaking out in cold sweat. Mu Yaja smiled gently as if he didn't notice anything strange about her. He immediately reminded her, "It's getting late. Hurry up and take a shower." "Oh," Yun Shishir nodded in a daze. At this moment, her mind was in a mess and she didn't know what she was thinking. Oh my God. Subconsciously, she actually lied. It was Gu Xingze who had called and nothing had happened, but she was still afraid that he would be angry, so she subconsciously mentioned Qin Zhou and avoided Gu Xingze. She still could not forget the confrontation between Mu Yaja and Gu Xingze on set that day. She naturally wanted to avoid such a thing at all costs. But Muyaja was so smart. She didn't know when he came in or when he was standing behind her. She also didn't know how much of her phone call he had heard. She didn't know if he would see through her lies. If he saw through it, it would be counterproductive. There was clearly nothing going on, but he was afraid that he would misunderstand on a deeper level. Yun Shishir was confused. She wanted to tell him the truth, but in front of Muyaja, she didn't dare to mention the name Gu Xingze. Now that he had relented and told her to take a shower, she felt as if she had been granted amnesty and walked towards the bathroom. However, she had just taken a step when Muyaja suddenly grabbed her waist from behind and pulled her into his embrace. Yun Shishir couldn't help but feel nervous and on tenterhooks. She was afraid that he would discover something and was planning to force a confession out of her. Chapter 1848. Don't dawdle. I'm waiting for you, he said in a gentle voice. Holding her waist, he took advantage of the situation and lingered on her chest. His slightly hoarse voice was bewitching. Don't make me wait for too long. Yun Shishir's heart stopped and her face instantly flushed red like steam. What are you talking about? Blushing, she pushed him away and headed to the bathroom with her head lowered. Perhaps she was too nervous, or perhaps she was so shy that she forgot herself, but when she entered the bathroom, she slammed her head against the door frame, causing her to grimace in pain. Muyaja's lips stiffened as he watched her holding her forehead in pain and plunging into the bathroom. When she closed the door, the smile on Muyaja's face froze in an instant. He slowly focused his gaze and a cold glint flashed across his eyes. After the engagement party ended, she spent 2 days with him on the island before hurrying back to the set. She was already deeply grateful that the production crew had given her a 7-day break. Hence, 2 days after the engagement party ended, she hurried back. For 2 consecutive days and nights, she filmed 2 daytime scenes and drove through the night. Yun Shishir gritted her teeth and put in all her effort to finish filming the scenes that she had been delayed for the past few days. As soon as she finished filming, she immediately applied for a leave of absence. Lin Fengtian had put her on the schedule for a whole week. Of course, Lin Fengtian specially went to the production crew of Lethal Beauty to inform Gu Xiaoyang. The two of them had a good relationship, so Lin Fengtian's one sentence was enough for Gu Xiaoyang to approve her leave. The Green Apple went through a long post-production process. In order to strive for perfection, Lin Fengtian delayed the post-production process for a long time. However, it was also because of this excellent post-production that it piqued the interest of the film's fans. On the internet, many netizens expressed their strong anticipation for this film. Before the premiere, there was a screening of the film with 100 people. Many fans of the original novel watched the screening and said that the film was great. The nationwide roadshow tour was about to begin. In order to promote the movie, Lin Fengtian was extremely spirited. He was prepared to win 24 roadshows nationwide in one go. In addition to the major provincial capitals, some prosperous second-tier cities were also on the list. He was full of confidence in this movie. He vowed that he would be the box office champion of the romance movie at Christmas and the end of the year. With this ambition, he was fully prepared. The early stage of publicity was almost explosive. Just the advance trailer alone had produced 5. Relying on his own rich resources, he bombarded the various satellite channels one after another. The theme song directly jumped to Inouye TV's #1. Many artists had recorded VCRs to congratulate Lin Fengtian on his success at the box office. It had to be said that although Lin Fengtian had the reputation of a devil director, and everyone on the set was afraid of him, it had to be said that his popularity was ridiculously good. Just by confirming the lineup of well-known directors and A-list celebrities that would be attending the premiere, coupled with the presence of various media outlets, this huge lineup could be said to be magnificent. The release of the movie coincided with Christmas Day. Lin Fengtian even said that he would be the box office champion that day. His wild ambition was self-evident. One had to know that this was not the only movie that would be released on Christmas Day. Chapter 1849. Generally speaking, the release cycle of a movie was about 20 days to 2 months. The more powerful the director was, the higher the production rate and the longer the release cycle. Moreover, with Gu Xingze around, Lin Fengtian was very confident about the box office. Yun Shishir, on the other hand, was under unprecedented pressure. This was her first film, and it was also her first time playing the female lead as a newcomer. If she was not famous enough and could not hold up the box office, she would definitely be upset if she dragged the whole crew down. However, Qin Zhou comforted her. With Lin Fengtian and Gu Xingze, the two leaders of the box office, even if she was not famous enough, the box office results would not be too bad. The crew had prepared a few gowns, but Yun Shishir had been putting on some weight recently. Qin Zhou was worried that she would screw up and it would be awkward if she could not fit into the gowns, so he urged her to lose weight. Of course, in such a short period of time, the so-called method of losing weight was also quite rough. For the premiere, she had starved for 2 days before she was able to wear the gown perfectly. Lin Fengtian was only satisfied when he saw it. However, on the day of the premiere, when Yun Shishir arrived at the venue, she realized that all the crew members were there, except for Gu Xingze. She did not see him. Was he going to miss the premiere? Yun Shishir was worried that something might have happened to him, so she tried to ask Qin Zhou about it. Qin Zhou replied vaguely, "He will be here, but something happened, so he might be a little late. But he will definitely be here before the premiere." Yun Shishir frowned. She was a little worried, but she did not show it on her face. Gu Xingze finally arrived with more than half an hour to the start of the event. However, when he appeared, it was with a rather grand entourage. 4 bodyguards led the way, along with the personal doctor, stylist and assistant. More than a dozen people escorted him into the dressing room. Yun Shishir suddenly received a phone call from Yun Qinli. "Sister Shishir, I heard that it's the premiere of The Green Apple today. Gu Xingze will be there too, right?" "Yes." "Then, can you help me get an autograph?" "Please, please. I'm Xingzhe's hardcore fan, so I don't ask for much. I just want an autograph." Yun Qinli begged again. Yun Shishir only said perfunctorily, "I'm very busy. If there's a chance, I'll definitely do it for you." With that, she hung up the phone impatiently and sat in the dressing room, her mind in a mess. 10 minutes later, Gu Xingze finished his makeup and walked out of the dressing room. She looked up at him and saw his pale, sickly face. Even though his handsome face had been carefully groomed by the stylist, it was not difficult to see that he was extremely exhausted at the moment. His face was pale, and his forehead was dripping with cold sweat. His thin lips were tightly pursed and dry. Even though he had applied lipstick, it still couldn't hide his weak breath. Especially from his tightly knitted brows, it was obvious that his body was in a very bad condition. Yun Shishir couldn't help but ask, "Qin Zhou, what's wrong with Xingzhe? I see that his face is very pale. He seems to be sick." Qin Zhou frowned but did not say a word. Suddenly, he said slowly, "He's attending the premiere because this might be his last movie." As soon as Qin Zhou finished speaking, Yun Shishir widened her eyes in shock and looked at him in disbelief. "His last movie?" Chapter 1850. "What do you mean by that? I don't quite understand." "It's nothing." Qin Zhou smiled faintly, but there was nothing he could do. He said, "His health condition is indeed worrying. Some time ago, he drank too much and was rushed to the hospital. His stomach was bleeding and his condition worsened. He has been on a drip for the past few days and his body is very weak." Bleeding from his stomach. Yun Shishir was shocked when she heard that. "Yes. Didn't you know?" Qin Zhou glanced at her. "He has a very serious stomach problem and he acts erratically. His daily routine is very irregular. Usually, when he suffers from a stomach problem, his meals have to be taken care of. But a few days ago, he went to drink to drown his sorrows. I don't know what has gotten into him. I think he doesn't want his body anymore. Yun Shishir's heart suddenly skipped a beat. He has been very dispirited recently. In the past, he was arrogant and aloof. He had always sealed himself in his own world. I've been with him for so long and finally opened up half of his heart. But now, he has closed it again and returned to how he used to be. The more Qin Zhou spoke, the more resentful he became. What a good-for-nothing brat. He is indeed worrying. He doesn't know how to take care of himself. I told him that he doesn't want me to take care of him. He said that he can take care of himself. But what happened in the end? His stomach problem worsened. The doctor said that if this goes on, there is a risk that he will become cancerous. Qin Zhou sighed. Obviously, he was both mentally and physically exhausted. To him, Gu Xingze was once his business partner. He was an artist that he had groomed and groomed. He was a superstar that he had personally created. He was also a close friend that he cared about the most. Now that Gu Xingze was so dispirited that he did not have any appetite for food or drink and repeatedly ruined his health, Qin Zhou could not wait to give him a good beating. He wanted to see if he could wake him up from his stupor. Yun Shishir's heart was in a mess. At that moment, she was worried and confused. What did Qin Zhou mean by the last movie? Was he going to quit the entertainment industry? Actually, withdrawing was a good thing. After being in the entertainment industry for so many years, Gu Xingze had accumulated a considerable amount of assets. If he were to retire from the entertainment industry and return to a normal life, it would not be a bad thing. This way, he would have more energy to take care of himself and his body. On the contrary, Yun Shishir hoped that he would quit the entertainment industry. However, Qin Zhou seemed to have read her mind as he suddenly said, I don't think it's a good thing for Xingze to leave the entertainment industry. He made his debut when he was very young. His career has always been the core of his life. If he withdraws now, his life will have lost its meaning. As he spoke, he extinguished the cigarette in his hand in the ashtray, deeply worried. He rarely smoked, but recently, he was very addicted to smoking. He smoked a pack a day, one cigarette after another. The ashtray was already full of cigarette butts. Yun Shishir didn't know what to say. The movie premiere started. This was a competition for fame and fortune, and also an ambitious campaign to build momentum. On the stage, all the main cast members sat on the high stools and faced the media's questions one by one. Yun Shishir, who was sitting next to the superstar, could clearly feel his hand trembling uncontrollably as he held the microphone. Her heart clenched tightly in her chest at the sight of this. Chapter 1851. The media asked, Xingze, may I ask, what is your biggest gain from this movie? Gu Xingze held the microphone and answered, I think my biggest gain would be the memories of working with such an outstanding director like Director Lin and so many hard-working actors. Everyone worked very hard to make this movie. Because this movie was adapted from a famous novel, many fans of the novel were looking forward to it. In order to live up to the expectations of the fans, everyone worked very hard. Media, what do you feel about your first teen movie when you first debuted, and now, after 10 years of your debut, acting in another teen movie? Gu Xingze said, actually, teen movies are not just about feelings. The biggest gain is that after 10 years of constant practice, my acting skills have improved tremendously. The Green Apple is probably a milestone in my acting career. I put a lot of effort into this movie, and I hope that the fans will be satisfied with it. As soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly moved the microphone away and covered his mouth as he coughed a few times. The hoarse sound of coughing entered her ears clearly. Yun Shishir couldn't help but clench her fists. The media suddenly asked a sharp question. May I ask, what are your expectations for the box office? Director Lin said that he expects the box office to exceed 2 billion. Of course, no matter what the final box office is, in my heart, The Green Apple is a rare and good movie. I hope that everyone will like it. That one sentence was enough to defuse the incisive question. All the media sighed. In front of Gu Xingze, they often couldn't get any benefits. Thus, they started to change their target and launched a fierce attack on Yun Shishir. However, after so many live rehearsals, Yun Shishir's ability to react on the spot was not inferior. No matter how sharp the question was, it was not difficult for her to answer it. The media was in despair. At the end of the ceremony, Gu Xingze and Yun Shishir raised champagne and slowly poured it on the ice sculpture of the name, The Green Apple. After the premiere, Yun Shishir silently followed Gu Xingze out of the theater. Along the way, she saw Gu Xingze coughing incessantly. She was scared out of her wits. Several times, when he coughed violently, she was afraid that he would cough up blood. At a corner, he was suddenly bumped into by a staff member who was hurriedly passing by. His body swayed slightly and he was about to fall. Yun Shishir quickly supported him from behind. "Are you all right?" The staff member was also shocked. When he saw that it was Gu Xingze, he trembled with fear and wanted to help him up in a hurry. However, when he saw Gu Xingze's cold eyes, he tactfully withdrew his hand, apologized, and quickly ran away. Gu Xingze supported himself against the wall and stood up straight. He brushed her hand away coldly. Yun Shishir's face was a little stiff. Then, she calmed down and said with a frown, "Let's go to the hospital." Gu Xingze slowly turned his head and glanced at her. Yun Shishir said worriedly, "Your body is too weak. There are still 24 road shows left. You won't be able to take it. What do you mean by this?" Gu Xingze suddenly questioned her. She was stunned. He smiled, but it seemed like he was mocking her. "Are you concerned about me?" Chapter 1852. Gu Xingze said coldly and turned around. Just when she thought that he was going to leave, he did not move. Instead, he said slowly in a weak voice, "Shishir, do you know? I've thought of countless possibilities between us, but I never thought that it would end like this." Gu Xingze laughed mockingly. "I hope that you've made the right choice." After saying that, he supported his heavy body and slowly left. Yun Shishir watched his resolute back view, but she could feel the heaviness in his cold words. It was as if his heart had been pierced by a knife and was bleeding profusely. On the way home, Yun Shishir sat in the back seat. She seemed to have lost her soul and was distracted. Yu made a call to her. She said cheekily, "Mommy, I watched the live broadcast of your movie premiere. You're so beautiful today. You've reached a new height." Mommy, when are you coming home?" Yun Shishir forced a smile. "I'm already on the way. I'll be home in about 15 minutes. Mommy, do you want to have supper?" "It's okay." On the other end of the line, Yu sensed that Yun Shishir was in a daze and sounded disappointed. She asked worriedly, "Mommy, what's wrong? You sound like you're not happy. Did someone bully you? Or did someone make you angry?" "No. I'm just a little tired." Yu smiled and said coquettishly, "It's okay. When Mommy comes home, Yu will massage your shoulders." "Okay." Yu is so obedient. After hanging up the phone, Yun Shishir's arms hung down weakly. She looked out of the window at the passing scenery. Gu Xingze's lonely voice still echoed in her ears. "I've thought that there are countless possibilities between us. But he didn't expect it to end like this. Hopefully, you've made the right choice." Yun Shishir closed her eyes and forced herself not to let her imagination run wild. As soon as she got home, Yu and Xiao Yichen rushed to the entrance to welcome her. They helped her take her coat and bag. The two little lads welcomed her into the living room in a flurry. One of them was in charge of massaging her shoulders and the other was in charge of massaging her legs. They were extremely busy. Yu suddenly smiled mischievously. "Mommy, you must have worked hard today. I watched the premiere today. Mommy is the prettiest among all the celebrities." Little Chen cheered from the side. "Oh, my. I've seen the trailer, and I think it's really good. Tomorrow, Yu and I will book the entire theater to watch a movie for Mommy." "You're so corrupt," Yu said angrily. Xiao Yichen was not to be outdone. He said, "Of course, I have to support Mommy's movie. I'm using my pocket money to book the entire theater. What's wrong with that?" He then smiled and said, "Mommy is so beautiful. It'll be a wonder if the movie doesn't explode at the box office." Yun Shishir was stunned. "You want to book the entire theater to watch the movie?" "Yes." Xiao Yichen thought to himself. He had already contacted a few theaters through his daddy and booked the entire theater to boost the box office on Christmas Day. Chapter 1853. He had put in a lot of effort, sob. How could that idiot Yu understand? However, he had wronged Yu. In reality, Yu didn't say it out loud, but what about the truth? He had already booked all of Huanyu's cinemas and bought a few million yuan worth of movie tickets. Furthermore, he had sent out the list in advance. Under Lizhi Holdings, any customer who bought over 500 yuan on Christmas Day would receive 2 free movie tickets for The Green Apple. Wouldn't it be a waste to give them away for free? Not only could it increase their sales, but it could also support their Mommy's movie. Yu had made a brilliant move. Compared to him, Xiao Yichen was indeed a little too naive. Yu snorted coldly and secretly looked down on Xiao Yichen. Yun Shishir looked at the two little clowns. No matter how bad her mood was, it instantly lightened up a lot. She hugged the two cute little guys and smiled. "You two are really. Mommy loves you to death. Mommy loves me. As for that idiot Mu Yichen, Mommy shouldn't love him," Yu said coldly in her arms. Xiao Yichen cried out pitifully, "Yu, you're ostracizing me." "Who's ostracizing you?" Yu snorted arrogantly again and said lightly, "I don't want to be in the same team as an idiot like you. You even booked the entire cinema. Mu Yichen, you're really something. It seems like Daddy gave you a lot of pocket money." Xiao Yichen poked his fingers and said pitifully, "What? I worked so hard to save up this pocket money. Go ahead and be happy. How many kids your age have a few million yuan in pocket money?" Yu said coldly. Mu Yichen pouted and sulked. Yu seemed to feel uncomfortable if he didn't bicker with him for a day. After spending so much time with him, although he was used to his arrogance and sharp tongue, it still hurt to be ridiculed once in a while. "All right. You two, stop fooling around." Yun Shishir scolded softly and patted the two little guys' butts. "Hurry up and go take a shower." "Mommy, we've already showered." "Smell me. Do I smell good?" Xiao Yichen hugged Yun Shishir and fooled around in her arms. "After the shower, it's getting late. It's time to go to bed." She hurried the two children to bed. "You still have school tomorrow." "Mommy. Tomorrow is Sunday." Yu's words reminded her. She looked at the calendar and realized with a start that she had been so busy these past few days that she had lost track of time. Tomorrow was indeed Sunday. "All right. Mommy knows her mistake. Mommy will read you a story, okay?" Yun Shishir coaxed gently. Upon hearing that she would read a story, Xiao Yichen immediately got down from her arms and ran back to the bedroom happily. "Mommy, I'll wait for you on the bed." Yun Shishir was amused by him and burst out laughing. This clown. You also said shyly, Mommy, I'll wait for you on the bed too. I'll wait for you to tell me a story. After saying that, he also ran back to his bedroom. Yun Shishir was in a mess. With these two little guys, life was really full of sunshine. Chapter 1854. At night, Yun Shishir was lying on the bed, tossing and turning. She frowned and reflected on herself. Gu Xing's attitude towards her was completely different from before. In the past, he was as gentle as the spring breeze and extremely delicate to her. Now, he was a little impatient and cold towards her. He was deliberately distancing himself from her. Actually, keeping a distance was not necessarily a bad thing. Since he was indifferent to her, she would naturally keep a distance from him. This was good for both of them. Even if she did not like him, she should not get close to him. She did not like Gu Xingze, but perhaps, in some aspects, some of her actions might make others think that she was interested in him. Yun Shishir pursed her lips. She knew that Gu Xingze liked her, but she had already tried her best to keep a distance from him. Whenever he took a step closer, she would take a step back. However, she was at a loss as to what to do. She admired him as a respectable senior. He was good at acting and cared for every junior on set. He was gentle, considerate, knew how to take care of people, and was meticulous. Her feelings for him were probably like a junior sister's feelings for a senior brother. She relied on him. However, he did not seem to care for her like a senior brother did for a junior sister. Since that was the case, Yun Shishir made up her mind. No matter what he thought, she would keep a distance from him from now on and try her best to distance herself from him. Although she felt guilty, it did not mean that she would compromise on certain matters. Perhaps her previous attitude was too ambiguous, so much so that it could not be cut off. Since that was the case, she had already thought of how to deal with these matters. Mu Yaja had flown to another city on a business trip these few days. The internal affairs of the organization had piled up like a mountain. Hence, before he left yesterday, he purposely hugged her for a long time and refused to leave. When they parted, he hugged her and reminded her repeatedly, "Be good when I'm not around. Don't do anything that will make me worry. If you're too tired from work, take leave and rest. Don't worry about what others say. If they have anything to say about you, ask them to come to me directly. If you're too tired, don't work. I can take care of 100 of you." It was simply hard for them to part. Mu Yaja was naturally reluctant to go on a long trip right after the engagement. No matter how he thought about it, he couldn't bear to leave his lovely wife alone at home. If Yun Shishir's promotional schedule wasn't very full, he even had the impulse to carry her onto the plane. Yun Shishir didn't know whether to laugh or cry at his reluctance to part. She joked, "All right. Be serious. Those who don't know would think that you're going to the front lines and won't be coming back." Mu Yaja held her in his arms and kissed her passionately. Lu Jinyu and Jiang Xin, who were standing behind them, were tormented by this display of affection. After boarding the plane, the two of them protested loudly at Mu Yaja. They protested that Mu Yaja, as the boss, was not considerate of his underlings at all. He even showed off his affection in front of the single dogs. Especially Jiang Xin. Guyu slumped in his seat and sighed. "Boss, you obviously don't like us, so you're torturing us in all sorts of ways. Isn't it enough to feed you tons and tons of dog food at your engagement ceremony? I can't take it anymore. I can't eat any more dog food. Otherwise, I'll be stuffed to death." Chapter 1855. Lu Jinyu also rubbed his belly and yelled, "I can't eat anymore. Jiang Xin, when we reach Luo City, let's go hunting. We have to find a girlfriend. Otherwise, we will be tortured to death by boss. You can find one if you want. I still want to follow boss." Boss has tortured me thousands of times, but I treat him like my first love. Jiang Shen took the opportunity to suck up to him. Mu Yaja snorted arrogantly. Lu Jinyu added, no matter how you treat boss like your first love, he will still torture you thousands of times. Jiang Shen's heart was stifled. He secretly wiped his bitter tears. Lu Jinyu said jokingly, did you hear what boss said just now? Be good and stay at home. Don't do anything that makes me worry. Boss is with us physically, but his heart is with sister-in-law. Jiang Shen nodded indignantly. Mu Yaja said, your sister-in-law is prone to fooling around. Naturally, I have to take care of her. Unintentionally, he was fed another mouthful of dog food. Lu Jinyu's lips twitched violently. He really felt the 10,000 critical hits of love. It's so good to be in love. Jiang Shen sighed. Speaking of love, it seems to be a matter of my previous life. Nonsense. I saw a woman beside you last time. Lu Jinyu exposed him. Jiang Shen said expressionlessly, that's not my girlfriend, okay? The only relationship I've had was when I was in college. At that time, I was really young. Lu Jinyu was indeed the sharp-tongued king of Xingyu Financial Group. In fact, except for your youthful appearance, your bones are full of dust. Jiang Shen was speechless. When Yun Shishir woke up, she found that the whole world had changed. It was not the world she was in, but the world of the internet. The first thing she did when she woke up in the morning was to open Weibo to read some offensive comments from fans. After reading 3 to 5 comments, she would be energized. She was originally pessimistically prepared to be attacked by fans of the novel when she opened Weibo. However, when she turned on her phone today, she suddenly felt that the world was a fantasy. Her latest Weibo post was a photo with Lin Fengtian backstage at the premiere. She was wearing a black dress, tall and elegant, and extremely beautiful. Before she went to bed yesterday, there were only a few hundred comments. When she woke up, she saw tens of thousands of comments and countless comments. She clicked on it and saw that her Weibo post had tens of thousands of new comments. What did that mean? In just one night, her Weibo followers had exceeded 5 million new. Yun Shishir was stunned. She thought that the system was retarded, but after flipping through a few pages, she found that every new comment was a live fan's message. The system did not malfunction at all. Fan Shishir. You. As a loyal fan of The Green Apple, I attended the movie premiere yesterday. Oh my god. This is the first time I've seen such a beautiful person in real life. Become your fan. Fan B, when I first saw your movie poster, you were so beautiful that you didn't look like a human being. I thought you had a strong post-production team. I didn't expect you to be so beautiful in real life. After watching the movie, in addition to your looks, I love your acting skills even more. Every look in your eyes is full of love. I'm going to watch it again today. Supporting you. Chapter 1856. Fan D, I used to hate you. Hate you. Hate you. Because I'm Gu Xing's diehard fan. Back then, I was wondering where you came from and how you could become Master Xing's imaginary lover. But after watching the movie, I realized that you and Master Xing are really compatible. I hope you two are really together. Heart, 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 Fan E, Yun Shishir, what a poetic name. I had a deep impression of you, but I always thought you were like the other young actresses, with only looks and no acting skills. After watching the movie, I realized that you're a real idol with real skills. I hope you become more and more popular. Yun Shishir scrolled through the comments again and again. Most of them were from fans who had watched the movie and left comments on her Weibo. Of course, there were also anti-fans sent by other female celebrities and Gu Xing's diehard fans who attacked her. But even so, many of her fans stood up to criticize and protest. Since her debut, this was the first time she felt the power of her fans. The feeling of being protected and respected was great. The feeling of using her acting skills to conquer the audience was great. The feeling of being able to gain fans because of her acting skills was great. Previously, Lin Fengtian had a private conversation with her and said that her looks were considered one of the best among the young actresses in the industry. She was even more beautiful than the rest. In terms of acting skills, she was also better than many others, but compared to some veteran actors who were at the pinnacle of acting, she was still lacking. He had told her more than once, looks will fade with the passing of youth. No one's looks can surpass the cruel years, but their acting skills can. A truly respectable actor not only has outstanding looks, but also a professional attitude and constantly improving acting skills. You have great potential. If you work harder, you'll definitely go far on this path. Yun Shishir saw the passionate comments from her fans and instantly felt her blood boil. She was greatly encouraged. That was enough. Her first film was able to gain the recognition of many fans of the original work. That was already the greatest affirmation for her. However, other than that, the surprise seemed to be far from that. Soon, news of success came from the crew. On the day of the premiere, the real-time box office sales had exceeded 100 million. Although there were still a few hours before the end of Christmas, the box office sales continued to increase. It had become a dark horse among the movies released on that day. It had even surpassed the results of many Hollywood blockbusters and won the crown. Movie fans went crazy. They were full of praises for the movie. The rating on Douban was as high as 9.2. Compared to the harsh rating system, this was considered an outstanding result. Even Lin Fengtian did not expect the movie to be so successful after it was released. It had far exceeded his expectations. The thing that Yun Shishir didn't even dare to think about happened. She held her phone and looked at the rising real-time box office. The trending terms about the movie on Weibo had reached the top. Fans kept coming out of the theater and showing off their ticket stubs on Weibo. They were very positive about the movie. Many fans of the original novel expressed that the degree of restoration of the movie had far exceeded their expectations. Some of the most detailed plots in the original novel have been preserved and restored as much as possible. Chapter 1857. High box office sales but poor reviews were inevitable. Many movie adaptations of novels often attracted fans of the original novel to the cinema. However, due to the lack of originality, they ended up in an awkward situation. The author of the original novel, The Green Apple, posted on Weibo and posted a photo of the male and female leads kissing passionately in the cinema. She said, "Thank you, both of you are excellent actors. In my heart, both of you are Yin Xiaochuan and Yin Dongyu. Your performances are outstanding." Feeling flattered, Yun Shishir gave him a thumbs up. On a morning without any work, she lazed in bed, holding her cell phone and reading the comments left by her fans. She really wanted to read every single comment, be it praise or criticism. She wanted to finish reading them all. When Yu knocked on the door and entered the room, he saw Yun Shishir curled up under the covers, holding her cell phone and smiling. Seeing this, he couldn't help but feel better. "Mommy. You're so lazy today. It's already 9:30. Why are you still lazing around in bed?" Yu ran to the bed and made a move to lift her blanket. Yun Shishir wrapped herself in the blanket and pleaded, "Yu. Don't lift Mommy's blanket. Mommy knows her mistake." Yu pursed his lips and smiled helplessly. Then, he snuggled under the blanket and hugged her. He asked, "Mommy, what are you looking at?" "Weibo." "Oh." Yu raised his eyebrows and smiled. "I saw the entertainment news this morning saying that The Green Apple is ranked first in the real-time box office sales." Moreover, it's tens of millions of yuan behind the second-place movie. That's great. Yun Shishir pressed her cell phone against her chest and said emotionally, "There's a sense of accomplishment that comes from working hard and being recognized. I feel very satisfied to have my efforts respected and acknowledged by others." It's early in the morning. Is mommy so happy? Yu was happy to see that she was in a good mood. After all, his mother had worked hard for this movie. Yu was naturally happy for her that it was a success. Yun Shishir was also filled with emotions. At first, when the movie was released, she was very nervous. She felt that she wasn't good enough and wouldn't be recognized. Even if she worked hard, she might not be recognized by the fans. Moreover, on the day of the release, there would be many blockbusters competing with her. She did not want to be a hit, she only wanted to be able to fight steadily. At the very least, she did not want to be known as a beauty with poor acting skills. When it came to acting, it was purely out of interest and not because of the vanity of wanting to be famous. In the evening, the real-time box office sales were finally confirmed. On the day of the screening of The Green Apple, it had achieved a box office of 150 million yuan, breaking Lin Fengtian's expectations. That night, the film crew held a sensational celebration party. Although Gu Xingzi was absent, all the main cast members present were looking forward to the final box office earnings of the film. Everyone believed that the final box office sales of the movie would definitely exceed Lin Fengtian's expectations. 2 billion shouldn't be too difficult to conquer. On the night of the celebration party, many media outlets participated in the party and published many articles. Guan Yu struck while the iron was hot. They threw in a lot of resources and carried out the post-production publicity. It was almost explosive publicity. The front pages of all the major web portals, Weibo, forums, Tiba, and online guilds were bombarded one after another. Almost everyone knew about this movie. Chapter 1858. The production crew pulled open the curtains of the nationwide roadshow. At the start, there were a few thousand audience members at the premiere, and at the end, there were tens of thousands of movie fans at Beijing University. The first roadshow was very successful. Many netizens also spontaneously promoted the movie online, and there were endless positive reviews. Many people who did not pay attention to movies noticed this movie with high positive reviews, so they all went to the cinema to see it. The movie officially entered the competition for the Lunar New Year slot, and all the studios started to work hard. Whether it was publicity or hype, everyone wanted to get a share of the pie during the Golden Lunar New Year slot at the end of the year. The battle for the box office was in full swing. After the first day, the box office decline that Lin Fengtian was worried about did not happen. On the contrary, it gradually increased. On the fifth day of release, the box office had already broken the 500 million mark and was heading towards the 1 billion mark. This was probably Lin Fengtian's most outstanding movie ever since he entered the industry. In the past, the teen movies were praised for being good, but not very popular. He had filmed so many movies, from tens of millions to hundreds of millions at the box office. Any movie that could break the 1 billion mark was almost a mythical existence. However, Lin Fengtian had high hopes for the movie. Hence, he worked even harder to promote the movie. All the main cast members acted as if they were on steroids, and they put in their best effort to perform. After Christmas, a few movies were released one after another. Most of them were crudely produced movies that investors had invested in to rush for the Golden Lunar New Year slot. Whether it was a comedy, an action movie, or a thriller movie, the publicity made it sound dignified, and it took 10 years to polish a sword. But what about the inside story? The entire movie cycle was only a few months, so how good could the finished product be? Without a good script, even the most basic logic did not make sense. They pulled in a few box office leaders and worked hard to create a movie, just to rush for the Lunar New Year slot to make money. In the past, this was basically a tried and tested model. But this time, under the pincer attack of The Green Apple and a few Hollywood blockbusters, a few commercial movies failed miserably. One of the comedies was even more interesting. Later on, it even sparked a war between the fans of The Green Apple and the film crew. The reason was that there was a Hong Kong male artiste in this comedy. Before the movie was released, no one knew if he was deliberately hyping things up or trying to please the public, but he actually posted on Twitter some insulting remarks about China and gangsters. He even said, "The mainland audience is very stupid. Hong Kong and Taiwanese artistes came to the mainland to make money, but the mainland audience is still supporting them like idiots. Anyway, I support XNGJNGDULI, but even so, there will still be audiences who will buy my movies." This explosive statement caused an uproar in the Chinese entertainment industry. Yun Shishir was no stranger to this male artist. Previously, when she was on the show, this male artist was a guest and recorded with her. Backstage, he actually tried to take advantage of her and got slapped by her in return. The man was so angry that he insulted her with Hong Kong accent. He was an artist with a very bad character. Yun Shishir only had disgust for him. Now, he even made such a brainless statement. Chapter 1859. Lin Fengtian was even more disdainful. He came all the way to the mainland to make money and even scolded the mainland audience for being brainless. It's an insult to the fans that such an artist exists in the entertainment industry. The investors of the comedy were dumbfounded. The facts proved that the male artist was not deliberately sensationalizing or playing to the gallery. He was a gangster in his bones. In the end, he went overboard. Hence, the movie called The Secret Service Team Next Door triggered a large-scale boycott by the netizens. The investors complained incessantly. They worked through the night to remove the artist's name from the poster. Scenes involving him in the movie were deleted as much as possible. He, who was supposed to be the male lead, was edited to be a passerby. But what was the point of cutting out the male lead scenes just like that? Moreover, this person's comments had seriously hurt the feelings of the mainland audience. Even if the investors tried their best to salvage the situation, what was the use? On the day of its release, the box office was dismal. The netizens joined forces to boycott the movie and only earned a few million at the box office. It was utterly embarrassing. There were even netizens who questioned why a movie with a gangster artist was still released in theaters. Many theaters were so frightened that they pulled the movie from their shelves and reduced its screening rate to 0. The investors who were originally full of themselves were dealt a painful blow. They had been preparing for months for the moment of profit. Because of this brainless artist, the box office was so dismal. Hence, the investors issued a ban on the male artist. A few days later, an explosive misunderstanding broke out on the internet. A netizen reported that when she went to the cinema to buy a ticket, she had wanted to watch The Green Apple. In the end, she did not get a printed ticket but a handwritten one. She suspected that a movie had stolen the box office of The Green Apple. Following that, many netizens commented. Some said that they had wanted to watch The Green Apple, but ended up getting tickets for The Secret Service Team Next Door. She tried to reason with the cinema but was met with rolling eyes. This was exposed on the internet, and there were even screenshots as proof. Many netizens also responded to this problem. Most of them had bought tickets for The Green Apple, but ended up getting tickets for The Secret Service Team Next Door. Later, after a media investigation, the results were that The Secret Service Team Next Door earned a few million at the box office, but the attendance was extremely low. It was only 0.1%. What did that mean? In other words, hundreds of thousands of people had bought tickets, but only a few hundred people had walked into the theater. It really made one not know whether to laugh or cry. She bought a movie ticket but didn't watch it. What did this mean? This meant that The Secret Service Team Next Door was suspected of stealing the box office. If the fake box office sales were excluded, then the box office sales for the first day of The Secret Service Team Next Door would probably be less than a few tens of thousands. Later, the judicial department got involved, and the result was that the investors didn't want the box office to be too dismal and lose face, so they reached a consensus with many cinema chains. When the audience bought tickets for The Green Apple, the box office would be included in the box office of The Secret Service Team Next Door through under-the-table manipulation. The production team of The Green Apple sued the producers of The Secret Service Team Next Door, and the cinemas involved in the incident, seeking compensation of several million yuan. In this way, the production crew of The Green Apple had been hyped up. Chapter 1860. The movie's popularity gave Yun Shishir a taste of instant fame. Attention, instant fame. The momentum of her fame caused her net worth to soar again and again. The considerable benefits brought by the movie were different from her previous experiences of being famous. It was immeasurable. Previously, Qin Zhou had hyped her up. While bringing her fame, it also brought her a lot of abuse and humiliation. But now, she had used her abilities to prove to those doubtful gazes that an actress could be good at acting as well as having good looks. Lin Fengtian was sincerely happy for her. After a roadshow, backstage, he said to her meaningfully, "Shishir, congratulations. You're really famous now. But at the same time, I hope that you don't become arrogant just because you're famous. Many celebrities often lose themselves after they become famous. I hope that you don't change your original intentions and continue to hone your acting skills. You will definitely become a big shot in the future. The title of Best Actress belongs to none other than you." Yun Shishir thanked him again and again. She cherished Lin Fengtian's recognition of her talent. His appreciation of her naturally made her feel flattered. If there was a chance to work with him again, it would be the best. He was her mentor and good friend, as well as her talent scout. What moved her even more was that Lin Fengtian had made an exception and signed an agreement for her to share the profits. She was the only actress in the cast who could get a share of the profits from the box office. What did that mean? If the box office hit 1 billion, she would get a share of more than 10 million yuan. That was already considerable. Moreover, the box office was still rising. No one knew how high the final result would be. Maybe there was a chance to break the domestic box office record, and the chances were very high. Qin Zhou was very indifferent to her sudden popularity. Or rather, it could be said that this was within his expectations. The person he liked had to be very outstanding. He had already foreseen that she would become famous, so he was not too surprised. "Shishir, you will become even more famous." He only said this one sentence. The popularity of the movie came with an endless stream of advertising contracts and gold medal offers. Many film crews and advertising companies took a fancy to her rising popularity and offered her an 8-figure endorsement fee, which left her flabbergasted. Therefore, the advertisers who had signed the endorsement contract with Yun Shishir earlier were secretly delighted. Previously, Yun Shishir was still considered a nobody. Although she was a little famous, her endorsement fees were naturally not comparable to those of the A-list starlets. Therefore, most of them were only a few 100,000 or a few million. Louis Vuitton's 10 million contract was already the maximum. This was all because of Mu Yaja. But now, with hundreds of millions of box office earnings, she had become a hot commodity in the eyes of advertisers, and advertising contracts had been thrown at her one after another. At the same time, many high-traffic program groups also invited her to appear on their programs. For a moment, she was in the limelight and became a popular young actress, attracting the attention of everyone. More and more audiences noticed this newcomer with good acting skills, and she also attracted the attention of many well-known directors. She received so many offers that her hands were about to go soft. Qin Zhou was very busy reading the script. Yun Shishir also worked at night. She stayed up late to read the script, but the more she read, the more dizzy she felt. There were many offers, more than 10 scripts, and it was not a joke at all. There were web dramas, period dramas, idol dramas, palace dramas, and even spy dramas. Chapter 1861. Audience popularity and popularity were different. Most of the people who watched movies in front of the TV were middle-aged. Audiences at this age would not become fanatical fans, but their names would be familiar to the audience and increase their popularity. Popularity meant that the ratings and box office would be guaranteed. At the same time, it meant that one's value would rise. Value was like a stock. It would rise and fall. But if one accumulated strong audience popularity, one's salary would be guaranteed. What Yun Shishir needed the most now was audience popularity. She had the popularity, but her popularity was not enough. Her box office appeal could not be compared to the A-list big brands. Therefore, she had to put in more effort in choosing the scripts. However, the scripts were of varying quality and quality. Yun Shishir felt her head spinning. However, when it came to picking scripts, Qin Zhou had a unique eye. When it came to scripts, he was extremely picky and strict. He didn't even look at some of the crudely written scripts, nor did he accept any of them. Most of the film contracts he accepted were usually made after staying up late to read the script and thinking it over and over again. A good script was difficult to evaluate. Although some scripts had low production rates, they were good scripts. Some scripts had high salaries, but to Qin Zhou, they were of no value. She accepted 2 TV dramas and 3 movies. The most exaggerated thing was that her schedule was scheduled for 3 years later. When Yun Shishir saw that her schedule was full, she felt dizzy and had mixed feelings. This was probably the mixed feelings after becoming famous. Facing the 7-digit increase in her account every day and the increasingly crowded schedule, she did not know whether to laugh or cry. For the rest of the schedule, Qin Zhou did not stop to negotiate contracts for her. Yun Shishir rushed for the promotional period of the movie. After becoming famous, the company requested her to update her Weibo more frequently. During the roadshow, she updated her Weibo more. Before bed, she updated her Weibo even more when reading the script. This was to increase her exposure during the movie's screening period. Of course, the fans who left comments on her Weibo were much friendlier now. They were not like in the past, where they were constantly abusive. However, after becoming famous, gossip followed closely. Many people questioned whether her facial features were exquisite and whether she had undergone plastic surgery or gone under the knife. Many people questioned whether there was any unspoken rules behind the scenes for her to work with a top director like Lin Fengtian in her first film. Many people even suspected that she was trying to ride on Gu Xingze's popularity by collaborating with Gu Xingze on a dating program. Rumors about her and Gu Xingze were also spreading like wildfire. However, most netizens felt that she and Gu Xingze were a match made in heaven. At least, they were good-looking. Some of Gu Xingze's fans even turned from haters to fans because of the movie, The Green Apple. The lucky couple was also in full swing. Yun Shishir's heart was in agony when she read those unfounded reports. She felt even more helpless. This kind of hype was really unfair to Gu Xingze. But back then, she was the one who gave her permission to create a scandal. Although Qin Zhou was the one who forced her, Yun Shishir felt disgusted that she was trying to ride on his coattails. His head hurt. Hence, she looked for Qin Zhou and expressed her attitude. Qin Zhou, can I ask you for a favor? Qin Zhou raised his eyebrows and asked, what is it? Chapter 1862. Qin Zhou paused for a moment and furrowed his brows. Why? Yun Shishir felt relieved after she said this. Actually, all this while, I've been indifferent to the hype of a couple. There's clearly no ambiguity or feelings between us, yet we have to put on an act for someone we don't like. This makes us feel bad and hurts others. Moreover, I also feel that it's too unfair to Xingzhe to hype myself. It wasn't because she felt that such hype was worthless because she was popular. It was because she wanted to achieve success with her acting skills, not hype. Qin Zhou was reading the documents beside him. He was so busy that he didn't even look up. He said indifferently, I remember telling you that if you want to take root in the entertainment industry, commercial hype is very important. This is a way of operating. Even if you're popular now, you can't do without hype. After all, what matters now is exposure. If you don't have enough exposure, you naturally need hype to maintain your exposure in front of the public. So, it has nothing to do with who is fair or not. Moreover, because of the hype of the relationship, Xingzhe's exposure has also increased greatly. This is the best of both worlds. The so-called fairness doesn't exist at all, so you don't have to blame yourself too much. Moreover, the operation between you and Xingzhe is my decision and means. It has nothing to do with you. Yun Shishir fell silent. She suddenly sighed and said, but I can't get over it. Qin Zhou, I'm already engaged. I have my own lover, and I cherish it very much. So, I don't want to hurt anyone, including Xingzhe. Hurt? Qin Zhou couldn't help but laugh. There's no such thing as hurt. Shishir, don't be too sensitive. Was she really too sensitive? Qin Zhou looked up at her and smiled helplessly. Besides, even if you want to hype it up, I'm afraid you won't have the chance anymore. What do you mean? Oh. Don't you know? The team didn't release any more news about you and Xingzhe. Qin Zhou stopped what he was doing and told her the truth. On the surface, he said it casually, but there was a trace of depression in his eyes. What? Yun Shishir was stunned for a moment. She said hesitantly, then, those drafts. Qin Zhou's eyes flashed with confusion. Then, he replied, those posts were created by marketing accounts, not by the team. Actually, there may be one thing I want you to know. Although the news hasn't been released yet, what I want to tell you now is that Xingzhe has been banned. What? Yun Shishir was flabbergasted. Banned? How could he be banned? I thought you should know about this. But looking at your attitude, you don't seem to know anything either. Looks like I've misunderstood you. Qin Zhou felt relieved. It seems that you really don't know about this. I don't know. Yun Shishir's face was blank. This news came too suddenly, and she was caught off guard. Why was Xingzhe banned for no reason? When did this happen? She had no idea at all. Chapter 1863. At first, she thought that Gu Xingzhe was ill and needed to recuperate. But now, it seemed that it was not that simple. Could it be that he was really banned? Since Qin Zhou said so, it was definitely not a joke. There was no need for Qin Zhou to lie to her about such matters. But, why was he banned? Yun Shishir looked at Qin Zhou in confusion. She felt a little lost and a little incredulous. Why was he banned? Qin Zhou suddenly became silent. Yun Shishir pursed her lips and carefully probed, is there any secret behind this? Or did he offend someone important, so he was banned? Shishir, let me ask you, do you know Gu Xingzhe's identity? Qin Zhou's sudden question completely stunned Yun Shishir. She shook her head blankly, obviously not knowing. Have you heard of the Gu family in the capital? Yun Shishir's eyes glinted as she was rendered speechless. The Gu family in the capital? Although she did not know much about it, she had heard some rumors about the Gu family. The Gu family in the capital used to be in the underworld. Later on, they cleared their name and set up a listed company. Their power spanned across both the underworld and the underworld. Although they were not evenly matched with the Mu family, they were on par with the Mu family in the underworld. In the capital, the biggest family after the Mu family was the Gu family in the capital. The Gu family controlled the underground money houses and casinos in the capital. The Gu family's hired thugs gathered densely in the East Street and the village in the city. There was a saying that one would rather offend a gentleman than a villain. Although the Gu family was not a villain, if one offended the Gu family, they would have to experience the Gu family's vicious means. She heard that there was such a rumor in the early years. At that time, the son of a government official in the capital lost a lot of money gambling on the East Street and did not pay back his debts. When the thugs of the casino came looking for him, the son took advantage of the fact that his father was the leader of the government and was rude to the principal. He straightened his back and said fiercely, "My father is Dai Jianqing. Everyone in the capital knows the Dai family's reputation. You little hoodlums, don't you know who I am? You're here to collect your debt. Hee hee. Wait for me to tell my dad. Be careful, my dad will flip your East Street upside down." When the hooligans heard this, they looked at each other and smiled. They turned around and tied him up in the car and took him back. As for what happened afterwards, it was rather shocking. It was said that after this brat was taken back, his attitude was very tough and arrogant. He probably relied on his strong background and spoke in a very foul tone. He even threatened to raze the Gu family to the ground. When these words fell into Gu Jinglian's ears, it alarmed the great demon king of the Gu family. One could imagine what would happen to this kid. One of his hands and one of his legs had been chopped off. She was imprisoned and tortured for half a month. When she was finally released, she was tortured to the point of insanity. Finally, she was sent to a mental hospital to recuperate. This shocking kidnapping even alarmed the city leaders, but when they found out that the culprits were the servants of the Gu family, no one dared to say a word. Chapter 1864. Seeing this, Dai Jianqing was heartbroken. Hence, he gritted his teeth and wanted to find out who the culprit was. But when he found out that it was the Gu family, he did not dare to say anything and swallowed his anger. In the end, in less than a year, he was exposed for corruption and quickly fell from power. Of course, it was obvious who was behind his fall. From then on, no one in the capital dared to provoke the Gu family after they found out about their methods. As soon as Qin Zhou said this, Yun Shishir made the connection between Gu Xingze and the Gu family. Qin Zhou smiled and said, "Shishir, I can say this. With the Gu family as his backing, no one in the capital would dare to cause trouble for Xingze. Of course, except for the Mu family." Gu Xingze's meteoric rise to fame was not only due to his excellent singing and acting skills, but also because of his stunning looks, which made him a natural idol. More importantly, it was because of the Gu family behind him that no one dared to offend. When Gu Xingze debuted in the entertainment industry, his father did not approve of him at first. With the Gu family's reputation, it would be bad if word got out that there was an actor in the entertainment industry. But after Gu Jinglian took over, not only did he not interfere, he even started to pour a lot of resources into Gu Xingze. Everyone knew that some of the Gu family's power and assets were shady. Naturally, they needed a clean name. Although they had established a listed company, it would be too ostentatious if they invested a lot of money. Hence, Gu Jinglian set up a venture capital fund and invested a lot of money into Gu Xingze's movies. It could be said that this was the best of both worlds. Hence, the fact that Gu Xingze was able to stay in the entertainment industry for so long was inseparable from Gu Jinglian's support. Now that Gu Xingze had been blacklisted, even Gu Jinglian could not do anything about it. So, who else could have blacklisted Gu Xingze besides Mu Yaja? Yun Shishir sucked in a breath of cold air as she understood what was going on at once. "You mean?" Qin Zhou knocked on the table, but there was no expression on his face. Other than the Mu family, who else would dare to provoke the Gu family? Why? Yun Shishir couldn't figure out why Mu Yaja wanted to ban him. "Shishir, you're so smart. You should know why Xingzhe was banned." Qin Zhou's eyes were unreadable. The meaning behind his words was self-evident. Yun Shishir was stunned for a moment. She suddenly thought of something and lowered her head helplessly. Both of them sat in silence, but they had a tacit understanding. I didn't want to end up like this, but, you know what? Xingzhe likes you very much, and for your sake, he's silently giving his all, but, maybe it's just not fate. But this kid seems to have been bewitched. There are so many women, but it seems like he only wants you. Qin Zhou suddenly smiled and looked at her playfully. I have to say, Shishir, your charm is really great. You're the only one who can make Xingzhe fall head over heels for you. Yun Shishir kept quiet. But you don't have to blame yourself. This has nothing to do with you. He's the one who can't get over it. I've already warned him many times, but he doesn't listen. There's nothing I can do. I already knew that this day would come. If he doesn't restrain his feelings for you, he'll definitely anger Chairman Mu. Chairman Mu's ban was also within my expectations. Chapter 1865. I didn't know that he has such feelings for me. You're so stupid. Can't you tell? Why do you think Xingzhe is willing to use his own resources to support you and give you such exposure when you just debuted? Do you think Xingzhe accepted the Love Diary when he never participates in reality shows? Qin Zhou paused for a moment, his heart aching for her. Can't you tell? Gu Xingzhe is just doing it for you. Even if it's fake or just an act, he wants to have you, even if it's just an act. Can't you tell? The love and doting he shows for you on the show is not an act at all. Enough. Yun Shishir suddenly interrupted him. Why is he doing this? If he doesn't want to, he doesn't have to accept it. What do you mean by acting? I don't want him to be like this. I only respect him as a senior. I don't have any other feelings for him. He'll only disturb my heart and cause trouble. I cherish my friendship with him, but he doesn't treat you as a friend at all. Qin Zhou frowned. Yun Shishir closed her eyes. I know, but I feel even more guilty when he acts like this. Qin Zhou looked at her silently and suddenly smiled. Don't feel guilty. If you really feel sorry for Xingzhe, don't see him again. Let him forget you and cut off his feelings for you. Whether it's him or you to him, it's a disaster. Do you understand? Yes. Don't worry. Chairman Mu has been merciful to Gu Xingzhe and didn't make things difficult for him. He banned him because he didn't want him to pester you anymore. That's all. When Yun Shishir left Qin Zhou's office, she held her arm and was in a daze. Qin Zhou's words were still ringing in her ears. All of Xingzhe's work has been put on hold. With Chairman Mu's ban, no production team dares to invite him to do shows. All the production teams have also removed him. I'm afraid he won't be able to appear in front of the public for a long time. After being frozen, he's now recuperating at home. I hope he can be alone and think it through. After Gu Xingzhe was banned, his Weibo stopped updating. The fans were extremely sensitive. After all, before this, Gu Xingzhe's update frequency was maintained at 1 update a day. Her fans were extremely worried about her Weibo that had not updated for 10 days. The most recent Weibo post had hundreds of thousands of comments. They were all asking why their idol had not updated for so long. Could it be that something had happened? All the fans were extremely worried. Some people even speculated that Gu Xingzhe was suffering from depression. Recently, he had been very quiet on the show. He did not have much energy and the melancholy in his eyes made his fans feel as if their hearts were being stabbed by a knife. Some people even dug up the photos of Gu Xingzhe's pale and sickly face at the premiere ceremony not long ago. They were worried that their idol's body had collapsed from overworking. Some were also worried that Gu Xingzhe might have met with some mishap. In the end, the production crew of The Green Apple was alerted. They had no choice but to come forward and explain that Gu Xingze was ill and needed a long period of rest, so he did not want anyone to disturb him. As for the road show and the promotion of the movie, he would also be absent. The fans were extremely disappointed. Chapter 1866. However, everyone was well aware of the situation. Gu Xingze was indeed sick, but he might not be able to make a comeback after this retirement. Lin Fengtian was even more regretful. Qin Zhou announced to the public that Gu Xingze was unwell. Other than Yun Shishir, even Lin Fengtian did not know what was wrong and thought that Xingze was really sick. In the next few days, Yun Shishir was extremely busy. She was busy with the promotion of the movie, the filming of Lethal Beauty, the promotion on Weibo, and the performance on variety shows. Her entire schedule was packed to the brim and she did not have any free time. After becoming famous, she could not adapt to the huge workload that came with it. It turned out that becoming a celebrity, especially a celebrity who became famous overnight, was actually such a tiring thing. A moment ago, she was still sleepy and in a daze. The next second, she was brought to the dressing room. After a lot of trouble, she appeared in front of the camera beautifully and cooperated with the media's interview with a smile on her face. After the interview, there was almost no time to breathe. She was quickly brought to the fashion magazine studio by Qin Zhou to shoot a fashion blockbuster. At night, she had to rush to finish her scenes and was dragged by Qin Zhou to read the script. She was so tired that her heart bled. During the busy break, Qin Zhou teased her, "Shishir, how does it feel to become famous overnight?" Yun Shishir was so tired that she did not want to talk. She only rolled her eyes at him. Qin Zhou was amused by her glare and laughed out loud. Of course, there were also things to be happy about. For example, the balance in her account had finally broken through the 10 million mark. In the past few days, she had negotiated a few advertising contracts and was earning money like crazy. 2 of the big advertisers had already transferred the money. She endorsed many products, from the small ones to facial cleansers, shampoo, and skincare products, to the big ones to luxury cars, department stores, and luxury brands. Because she endorsed a mobile phone, she had no choice but to replace her old one. The advertiser requested that she had to use their company's mobile phone whenever she attended public events, even if she was walking through the airport. Yun Shishir did not know whether to laugh or cry. Looking at her life, it was really full of ups and downs. She could not help but sigh. On this day, Yun Shishir had just rushed back to the set for filming. Today, she had a scene with Hua Jin. Ever since the 2 of them quarreled last time, Yun Shishir's attitude towards Hua Jin was much colder. As she and Hua Jin did not have many scenes together, they rarely had the chance to meet each other again. This time, she was returning to the set to act in a scene with him. Hence, in the dressing room, the 2 of them had a face-to-face confrontation. Sure. Hua Jin had just walked into the makeup room when he spotted her. He happily walked over and sat beside her, nuzzling her gently. "You haven't been on set for the past few days. Are you busy promoting the movie that has just been released?" Yun Shishir ignored him. Hua Jin's eyes were filled with desolation as he asked guiltily, "Why? Are you still angry about that matter?" Yun Shishir continued to ignore him. Hua Jin panicked and looked aggrieved. Okay. I know I was wrong. Next time, I won't make fun of you or tease you anymore." Yun Shishir's expression softened a little. In fact, after what had happened, her anger towards Hua Jin had dissipated a little. Thinking back, he was obviously joking. She had naively believed him and could not blame anyone. Forget it. Chapter 1867. All right. I'm not angry anymore, okay? Stay away from me. Don't stick close to me. She pushed him away with a look of disdain. No. I like to stick close to you. Hua Jin saw that her anger had subsided and a look of joy flashed past his eyes. I've watched your movie. Oh. To support you, I booked the entire theater and invited the film crew to watch it. Hua Jin coaxed her. Yun Shishir, however, remained indifferent. Oh. Why are you so cold? Hua Jin was a little dissatisfied with her indifferent tone. I'm so supportive of you. Aren't you touched at all? Yun Shishir made an exaggerated expression. I'm so touched. After a pause, her face became indifferent again. Is that okay? Hua Jin. Hua Jin complained sadly, boo-hoo. Shishir, you're so heartless. Your eyes tell me that you're not touched at all. But Shishir, your acting is really great. I've watched your movie and realized that you have a special charm when you wear the school uniform. Hua Jin praised and coaxed her at the same time. Yun Shishir was speechless. Just say what you want to say. You don't have to keep kissing my ass, right? What do you mean kissing your ass? Can't you be a little more positive? Can't you just praise me? How is this a simple praise? One who is unaccountably solicitous is hiding evil intentions. I think you're obviously up to no good. Hua Jin felt even more hurt. He pursed his lips and stared at her with his watery eyes, as if he was silently complaining. Yun Shishir continued with what she was doing and ignored him. Although she was ignoring him, Hua Jin stood alone at the side and kept nagging, Aya. Our Shishir is really amazing. Her first movie and the box office sales have exceeded 1 billion yuan. I'm sure that this movie will set a new record for box office sales. When that time comes, you'll be an A-list actress. Your future will be bright. There was no need to praise her so much. She wasn't the only one who contributed to the high box office sales. To put it bluntly, the box office appeal of Gu Xingze and Lin Fengtian combined should have achieved this result. She was at most the icing on the cake. She was very encouraged to be recognized by the audience. She did not dare to hope for anything else. Hua Jin was still eloquent. Your acting skills are so good, and you're so beautiful. If there are a few more movies that can achieve such good results, you'll have billions in box office sales in a few years. I have a feeling that you'll definitely be able to compete for the Best Newcomer award at the Golden Phoenix Awards. Yun Shishir frowned in annoyance as she fixed her makeup in front of the mirror. Hua Jin looked at her. His gaze suddenly fell on the diamond ring on her finger, and he was stunned. Why is there a ring on your ring finger? Hua Jin was stunned for a few seconds before he broke into a smile. Idiot! You're not engaged and not married. How can you wear a ring on your ring finger? Yun Shishir suddenly turned to look at him. What does it have to do with you whether I wear a ring or not? Hua Jin felt even more wronged. I'm just concerned about you. As he said this, he reached out to grab her hand. You can't wear a ring carelessly. If the media catches this scene, they'll definitely release a statement about your secret marriage. Yun Shishir avoided his hand and said angrily, Don't move. Chapter 1868. Yun Shishir smiled casually, but the corners of her lips curled up slightly. She replied softly, Yes. I'm engaged. Hua Jin was stunned for a few seconds. What? He was stunned, and his eyes were blank. Yun Shishir turned her head and stared into his eyes. She replied seriously, Yes, I'm engaged. Hua Jin was stunned for a moment before he laughed. Are you kidding me? Do you think I'm you? Do I need to lie to you when I'm just joking around? After that, she turned back and touched up her makeup in front of the mirror. There was a dead silence around her. After such a long period of silence, Yun Shishir was not used to it. She turned around in confusion and saw that Hua Jin was silent, staring at her without saying a word. What's wrong? Hua Jin frowned, but he could not say a word. He looked inexplicably lonely. You look weird. What's wrong? Sure, are you really engaged? Hua Jin still found it hard to believe, but his eyes were full of caution. Yun Sure was a little defeated by him. She said helplessly, Hua Jin, I'm really engaged. I'm not lying to you. Ah, Hua Jin's eyes widened. His lips moved, but he did not say anything. In the end, there was only silence. Her phone suddenly rang. Yun Sure immediately went to the side to answer the call. Hello. On the other end, Mu Yage's deep voice was heard. Are you still filming? Yun Sure smiled gently and explained patiently, yes. There's a scene today that needs to be res hot. I've been busy with work recently, so there's been a delay. I'm back. I miss you a little. When are you coming back? Mu Yage's magnetic voice was very clear in the incomparably quiet room. Hua Jin did not have the intention of eavesdropping, but he could still clearly hear Mu Yage's gentle words. It turned out that, was she really engaged? The man on the phone should be her fiancé, right? How could this be? He thought. Yun Sure held the phone and gently coaxed, wait for me at home, okay? When I'm done, I'll go home. Good. No matter how late it is, I will wait for you to come back. Yes. A sweet smile appeared on Yun Sure's face. She hung up the phone and returned to the dressing mirror. However, she saw that Hua Jin's face was strangely silent. His head was lowered, and his eyes were buried in the shadow of his forehead. She couldn't see what emotions were hidden in his eyes, but the lines of his shoulders were inexplicably stiff and cold. Yun Sure's expression froze for a moment. What's wrong with you? She was so energetic just a moment ago. Why did she suddenly become obedient and quiet? This person is really strange. Yun Sure muttered to herself as she sat down in front of the dressing mirror. Hua Jin suddenly stood up and left the dressing room without a word. She stared blankly at his back view as he left and muttered, weirdo. At night, when they were rushing to finish the night work, it was already 10 at night. The weather was at its coldest. Yun Sure could not stand the temperature of a few degrees below zero at night in the north. On the set, she tiredly wrapped herself in a military coat. There were a few times when she dozed off and almost fell asleep. Hua Jin sat beside her, but he was still strangely silent and did not make a sound. She busied herself by pouring hot tea for Yun Sure and running back and forth to ask the set keeper when they could start shooting. It was so nerve-wracking. Chapter 1869. Yun Sure, who was wearing a thin costume, was shivering from the cold even though she was wrapped in a military coat. Her assistant ran back and stomped her feet in anger. Sure, you won't be able to do it for the time being. Lin Ji is such a disappointment, she actually got stuck during filming. Director Gu is scolding her, but no one dares to say a word. If we wait for her to finish, who knows how long it'll take. Why don't you go back to the dressing room to hide from the wind? It's cold at night, don't catch a cold. No need. Yun Sure shook her head with a cup of water in her hand. Filming is over. If it's my turn and I can't be found, Director Gu will fly into a rage again. Her assistant was both angry and distressed. Still, the weather is so cold. Your body is weak to begin with, what if you can't take it and fall sick? Yun Sure, however, said, there are so many people waiting, yet they don't seem to have any complaints. I'm not the only one waiting. Let's wait patiently. That's true. If you hide in the dressing room, who knows if someone will make sarcastic remarks about you acting like a big shot again. As she said this, she shot a meaningful look at the assistant standing at the side. Both of them snorted at this. As the female lead and the supporting female lead's assistants, they did not see eye to eye with each other. Hence, they often had conflicts with each other in the production team. Yun Shishir waited patiently. Lin Ji's ability to dawdle was admirable. It was just a simple scene, yet they still had not finished filming after more than 3 hours. The weather was very cold and she could not stand the cold. She was shivering during the shoot and her voice was trembling when she said the lines. Gu Xiaoyang was about to explode. He scolded her in front of everyone and gave her a good scolding. Her assistant complained to Yun Shishir, "Shishir, wait, you must do your best. Director Gu is in a bad mood now. If he vents his anger on you, it'll be terrible." "I know. I'll try my best to get it done in one take." Yun Shishir thought to herself that there was still a man at home waiting for her return. She definitely had to work harder and muster all her strength to pass in one go. Hua Jin, on the other hand, remained silent throughout. No one knew what he was thinking. At midnight, Lin Ji's scene finally ended. When she returned, she was wrapped in a military coat and her nose was red from the cold. Her assistant escorted her back to the lounge. Mushi snickered at the side. "Look at how cold she is. Her nose is about to fall off from the cold." "Mushi. Don't talk nonsense." "Hee, all right." The scriptwriter rushed over to remind them, "Everyone, get ready for the next scene. We'll be filming in 10 minutes. "Got it, thank you," Yun Shishir said. The stage keeper smiled and hurriedly went to inform the group of extras. When it was time for Yun Shishir to go on stage, she was extremely focused. Whether it was her positioning, lines, expression, or acting skills, everything was on point. The problem was that the smooth plot was interrupted when it came to Hua Jin. If she was not distracted, she would forget her lines. Hua Jin did not have many lines for this scene. In the past, with his ability, he could pass this scene in one take. However, in just half an hour, he had 3 NGs. He exploded on the spot. Chapter 1870. However, Hua Jin kept his head down and didn't even try to brush him off. He responded lazily but didn't say anything else. Gu Xiaoyang glanced at his expression and wanted to scold him but stopped himself. Clearly, he didn't want to offend someone like Hua Jin. He had already vented his anger by scolding him in front of so many people, so he didn't want to be too forceful with him. Thus, he held back his anger and took a few deep breaths before lecturing, "Act well from now on." "Yes, I understand, great director." Hua Jin's attitude was very casual. Gu Xiaoyang's suppressed anger was stirred up by his flippant and provocative words. He suddenly strode over and stuck close to him. Looking at him, he gritted his teeth and said in a voice that only the two of them could hear, "Don't think that just because you have a strong background, you can be so arrogant in front of the crew. Hua Jin, you were able to get into this crew because you have someone supporting you, but I don't want to be bullied by you. Act well. If you don't want to act, then get lost." "I won't get lost." Hua Jin smiled mischievously and blew out a breath at him. "If you're so capable, why don't you kick me out of the crew?" "Director Gu." "You." Gu Xiaoyang clenched his fists in exasperation. After enduring for a while, he suddenly stormed off. Yun Shishir stared blankly at the sudden scene in front of her. She was a little confused. Then, she looked at Hua Jin who was standing there arrogantly, looking as though he wasn't convinced. His handsome brows were slightly furrowed, and he was obviously making things difficult for Gu Xiaoyang on purpose. She walked over and asked patiently, "Hua Jin, can you act well?" The moment Yun Shishir spoke, Hua Jin's tone inexplicably softened. He smiled and said, "I'm acting well." "Is this the result of acting well?" "There are problems everywhere, be it your positioning or your lines. It's just a few lines." "How many NGs have you had?" Hua Jin pouted and said unhappily, "I'm not in a good condition." I gave you so much time to adjust your condition, and now you're telling me that you're not in a good condition. Don't you think it's too perfunctory? Everyone looked over curiously. Seeing that Yun Shusher actually spoke to Hua Jin in such a tone, everyone was stunned. Everyone in the production team knew that Hua Jin had a strong backer. Hence, he was rather arrogant in the production team and no one dared to offend him. Even the strong-willed Gu Xiaoyang had to lower his status when speaking to him. But Yun Shusher dared to speak to him like that in public. Everyone secretly sighed in their hearts. What great courage! Hua Jin did not say anything. However, Yun Shusher did not stop criticizing him. Please put more effort into your acting. This is not the first time this has happened. Everyone was tired, especially director Gu. He had been filming for the whole day. Couldn't he be a little more considerate? Is there a need to drag everyone down and suffer with you on such a cold night? Hua Jin only said one sentence, I'm not happy. Not happy. Yun Shusher was so angry that she laughed. If you're not happy, you want everyone to suffer with you. Hua Jin, aren't you a little too selfish? Hua Jin stared at her, dumbfounded. Then, he suddenly said in an extremely strange tone, Shusher, are you in a hurry to go home after filming? What? Chapter 1871. Hua Jin's tone was very strange. It vaguely gave off a feeling of jealousy. Yun Shusher did not understand why he would say such strange things and smiled coldly. Everyone wants to finish filming as soon as possible and go home to accompany their families. Hua Jin's eyes were filled with loneliness, but he laughed at himself. That's great. Someone is waiting for you to come home, but I'm not. There was envy and disappointment in his eyes. Yun Shusher, Hua Jin lowered his head and compromised. Okay, I'll do my best and try to pass it in one take. I won't take up your time. The following scenes were surprisingly smooth. Basically, all the scenes were completed in one take. When Hua Jin was serious, his ability was jaw-dropping. Be it the emotion in his eyes or the dramatic tension in his expression, they were flawless. Everyone predicted that Hua Jin would definitely become the second Gu Xingze. He had such ability and talent. After the scenes were over, Hua Jin still had to stay behind to finish the night work. Yun Shusher finished her scenes and hurried home. On the way back, Mushi carefully asked while driving, Shusher, do you feel that Hua Jin has an inexplicable dependence on you? I feel that he seems to like you a lot. Of course. It's not the kind of love between a man and a woman. I keep feeling that he's a lonely person, so he's like a younger brother relying on his older sister. Mushi said truthfully. At the mention of Hua Jin, Yun Shusher felt a headache. Don't worry about him. What's wrong? This person is really a weirdo. His temper is weird, and so is his personality. Mushi was stunned for a moment before she smiled and said, actually, I think that Hua Jin is quite a good person. Why do you say that? In the past, when I didn't interact with Hua Jin, I felt quite afraid of this person. It's said that Hua Jin's backer is not ordinary. The backer behind him is mysterious and powerful. Back when Hua Jin joined the cast of Lethal Beauty, you don't know how many young hunks were fighting for his role. A IP drama like Lethal Beauty is bound to set off a craze once it's broadcasted. Moreover, the male lead's character is quite likable and has many loyal fans. Basically, as long as one gets this role, it's guaranteed to be a hit. However, with so many people vying for the role, all it took was a few words from Hua Jin, and the role was decided for him. Don't you think it's scary? Yun Shusher was silent. Also, I heard some insider's news. She suddenly asked mysteriously, do you know Li Jiuxin? Yes. Back then, in order to be able to act in this drama, he even slept with the producer. In the end, it was Hua Jin who won it. Li Jiuxian is about to vomit blood from anger. Yun Shishir was surprised. If I remember correctly, the producer of Lethal Beauty is a middle-aged uncle, so what? Mu Shi did not think much of it and was clearly used to it. This industry is very chaotic. That producer is gay. Although Li Jiuxian isn't, he's willing to go all out for this role. What's a few nights of sleeping with someone if he can get a gold medal role? Yun Shishir was flustered for a moment before she muttered to herself, the rich and powerful circle is really messy. Chapter 1872. Actually, that producer wanted to hook up with Hua Jin. However, Hua Jin has a strong backer. Even if he's eyeing him covetously, he doesn't have the guts to do it. Is Hua Jin so popular the moment he debuted? Mu Shi shook her head. Nope. She continued, Hua Jin only became popular in the past 2 years. Because he has a sugar daddy, his status naturally rose. Before this, he was a money boy. Yun Shishir was confused. What does a money boy mean? Mu Shi's lips twitched. You don't even know what a money boy means. Emichim. I don't understand. The red light at the intersection lit up. Mu Shi stopped in her tracks and turned to look at her. Under the dim light, her expression seemed a little blurred. In ancient times, money boys were also known as male prostitutes. Now, you can think of them as male toys of some rich people. Yun Shishir was shocked. She suddenly recalled what Hua Jin had said to her. I entered this industry because I was sold by my father when I was very young. Could it be, his background wasn't a joke? It was real. While she was in a daze, Mu Shi continued to explain in her ear, Hua Jin used to be a famous male toy. In the beginning, he was a lowly man who accompanied customers in bars to drink. Later, he was bought by the boss of a management company and kept as a mistress for a few years. At that time, Hua Jin was not famous yet. Although he was young, he was handsome and youthful. Many bosses liked this type of man, so he was considered a hot commodity and had been booked by many sugar daddies. Later, the boss of the management company saw that he was handsome and had a good face shape, so he gave him a stage name and tried to promote him as an artist. Who would have thought that after acting in a period drama, it would become so popular? He had also leaped up the ranks and became a popular actor in period dramas. Later, he was taken over by an even more powerful sugar daddy. He's really depraved, Yun Shishir said in disgust. Mu Shi shook her head and sighed. Shishir, what you're saying is wrong. In this industry, there are many times when you can't do as you wish. It's not like being kept or being depraved. Sometimes, even if you're unwilling, you have no choice but to submit in this world where the strong preys on the weak. Who would be willing to sell their body? Hua Jin probably lived an inhuman life in those years. Emichim. I heard that Hua Jin seemed to have tried to commit suicide in the past. He cut his wrists in the bathtub, but he was discovered in time and was saved. Yun Shishir was stunned. However, after this sugar daddy's daddy, it's been different. This sugar daddy is so powerful that he even secretly dealt with a few of the people who used to torture Hua Jin in the past, got rid with him. Yun Shishir was doubtful about this word. What do you mean by handle? Mu Shi cleared her throat and said, that's what it means. She made a throat-slitting motion, vivid and vivid. Yun Shishir's face turned pale. How did this happen? This industry was darker than she had imagined. Chapter 1873. Otherwise, why do you think the entire production team doesn't dare to go against Hua Jin? Hua Jin is so arrogant and overbearing. Have you seen anyone who dares to stand up for him? She shook her head. No one dares to, except for you. That's why I'm very afraid of Hua Jin. When I first joined the production team, I didn't even dare to look him in the eye and practically avoided him. So what if she's beautiful? She's just like a poppy flower, beautiful but deadly. After a pause, she continued. But now, my impression of him has changed. You don't know this, but when you're not on set, sometimes the people in the production team will gossip about you. If someone dares to say anything bad about you in front of Hua Jin, he'll stand up for you. With him protecting you, no one in the production team will dare to criticize you, even if they hate you to the core. Take Lin Ji's assistant for example, do you think she'll dare to say anything about you? Yun Shishir fell silent. After sending her home, Mushi drove off. Before she left, she did not forget to remind her, Shishir, I'll pick you up at 8 tomorrow morning. You must wake up on time. Yun Shishir waved her goodbye and dragged her tired body home. Just as she opened the door, she was greeted by the warm light of the living room. Mu Yaja was sitting on the sofa reading the newspaper. When he heard the movement at the entrance, he looked up and smiled faintly. You're back. Haven't you rested yet? She thought that he was already asleep. It was already so late. It was 1 a.m, yet he was still waiting for her in the living room. Yun Shishir's heart warmed. She originally thought that she would be greeted by a dark room, but she did not expect to see him still waiting for her when she opened the door. How can I sleep soundly if you don't come back? Mu Yaja said as he gently patted the sofa. Come here. His summons made her feel like a summoned beast. She did not know whether to laugh or cry. She closed the door, took off her coat, hung it on the hanger, and walked to the sofa. Just as she sat beside him, the man's strong arm wrapped around her waist and pulled her into his embrace. Before she could react, the man lowered his head and sealed her lips with a wolfish kiss. He tasted her beautiful breath. He had been thinking about this kiss for too long. He had been longing for the woman in his arms for so long. During this business trip for more than half a month, he missed her so much that he almost went crazy. After they arrived in Luo City, Jiang Shen and Lu Jinyu were busy hunting for women. They were tortured by him, so naturally, they were busy looking for women to fill their emptiness. Mu Yaja was immersed in his work, but he could still hold himself back from not seeing her for a few days. For more than half a month, he didn't even know how he had endured it. Don't go on business trips. Don't leave me for so long. Mu Yaja hugged her tightly, unwilling to let go. Since they got off the plane, he missed her so much that he did not feel sleepy at all. If she did not come back, he would not feel at ease at all. Otherwise, why did they say that absence makes the heart grow fonder? Lovers in love, not to mention half a month, even if they were separated for 7 or 8 days, they would still miss each other so much that their souls would leave their bodies. Not to mention the long period of more than half a month. Yun Shishir missed him too. If it were not for the huge workload in the past half a month, she would not even know how to deal with this long night without him. Chapter 1874. He hugged her, and she hugged his waist in return, passionately responding to his demands. She even knew how to take the initiative to pry open his thin lips, entangling with his warm tongue, unable to part. She missed him too. She missed the warmth of his body. She missed the mesmerizing curve of his lips. Yun Shishir lingered on his lips. After a few flirtatious moments, she panted coquettishly and looked at his handsome and devilish face with her languid eyes. Why are you back so late? He said in a displeased tone, but his tone was full of indulgence and there was no hint of blame in it. Yun Shishir replied, the filming took place very late and the weather was cold, so the progress was a little slower. Stop filming. As he rubbed against her ear, his breath smelled like orchids as he whispered these words. This was not the first time he had said this. Filming had taken up too much of their time together. He felt very dissatisfied. Yun Shishir looked a little guilty. She cupped his face and comforted him, aren't I back now? You're back so late and you're still speaking in such a self-righteous tone. Mu Yaja's tone was unfriendly. His hands suddenly reached under her clothes and through the thick cotton coat, he easily grasped her softness. He leaned close to her ear and said in a threatening and flirtatious tone, "Tell me, how should I punish you?" Hey! Yun Shishir was angry and amused at the same time. She pushed his shoulder and said, "I'm only back a little late. Do you want to punish me?" "Aha! I waited for you for 5 hours. Tell me, do you think you should be punished?" Muyaja's arrogant tone made the corners of her lips curl up even more. She hugged his shoulder and gave him a peck. She smiled sweetly and said, "My dear husband, is this compensation enough?" "Not enough." Yun Shishir kissed him again. "Then how about this?" "Not enough." "Then what is enough?" Muyaja sucked on her cheeks reluctantly and kissed her deeply. He persevered in exploring the sweetness between her lips. However, at this moment, only a kacha sound could be heard. The bedroom door was opened. Muyaja was the first to react. He looked up and saw Yu in his pajamas suddenly appearing at the end of the corridor. He looked at the intimate scene in the living room and was tongue-tied for a moment. There was a look of uneasiness on his little face. He stood there uneasily and wanted to retreat silently. However, when he saw Muyaja's gaze on him, he could not move his feet for a moment. Ugh! D***. Yu helplessly covered his face. He was clearly speechless. What a coincidence, he actually caught his daddy and mommy being lovey-dovey again. How awkward. And this was not to mention, to God Tao's telepathy. As long as daddy and mommy were being intimate, he would always appear coincidentally. He to Momo, you to mommy and daddy to mommy. To mommy to mommy to mommy to mommy and mommy and to mom to YY to daddy and daddy to mommy and momly to mommy and to momus. Would daddy think that it was premeditated? To daddy on purpose. He was innocent. He was not going to take the blame. Yu could not hide the awkwardness on his face. Yun Shishir turned her gaze and saw Yu standing there looking tired and embarrassed. She immediately wanted to get up and push Muyaja away. However, the next second, Muyaja pulled her into his arms domineeringly. Chapter 1875. Yu cleared his throat and pretended to rub his sleepy eyes innocently. He said righteously, "I'm thirsty, so I want to get some hot water to drink." Drinking hot tea is a good habit. Approved. Muyaja said calmly. Yu said politely, "Thank you, father, for your permission." Yun Shishir was speechless. Muyaja looked at him meaningfully and said, "After you've poured the hot water, drink it and go to sleep. Do you understand?" Yu exchanged glances with him. The father and son looked at each other with tacit understanding. One of them was using his eyes to say, "I'm busy with your mommy." The other was using his eyes to reply, "I understand. I'll avoid it." Yu nodded and smiled knowingly. Got it. Then, without looking sideways, he rushed into the kitchen. Within half a minute, Yu returned with a cup of hot tea and walked into the bedroom without looking away. Yun Shishir was dumbfounded. Muyaja kissed her as a form of consolation. Let's continue. Just as he said that, they heard a cough. The two of them turned around and saw Yu's little head popping out from behind the wall. Then, he reminded them kindly, "It's cold at night. Daddy and mommy should rest early too. Remember to strike a balance between work and rest." With that, he turned around and ran back into the room, slamming the door shut. Muyaja was speechless. Yun Shishir was speechless. This little clown. Muyaja smiled, but he was annoyed in his heart. Then, he carried Yun Shishir in his arms and strode into the bedroom. After entering the room, the man's ambition seemed to need no more concealment. He held her in his arms and led her small hand to his waist. Yun Shishir's face burned the moment she touched it. The man's urgency made it clear that he no longer had any patience. He was no longer willing to exchange pleasantries and wanted to get straight to the point. She wanted to dodge, but he was too strong and refused to let go of her hand. That place was already eyeing her covetously, causing her face to blush even more and her heart to beat faster. It was as if she had been dyed with top-grade rouge, causing her to be charming and moving. What? You should like it very much. In his passion, the man bit her earlobe and said extremely heart-stopping words. Her face grew redder and redder, and she said shyly, "You, don't talk nonsense. Isn't it?" The man smiled evilly. The more shy she was, the more he wanted to take possession of her beauty. So, he threw her on the bed, the tip of their noses touching, while pecking her lips, and skillfully unbuttoning her clothes. "Just now, you also showed an impatient look. Why are you so reserved now? It's rare for you to take the initiative. I like it very much." His smile was devilishly charming. His originally cold lips, because of the lingering kiss with her, were slightly warm. When his lips touched her beautiful shoulders and neck, they left dark red marks. Looking at the seductive look in his eyes, Yun Shishir hummed for a long time, but she couldn't say anything decent. She really did desire him. Chapter 1876. He said that he liked it when she took the initiative. Recalling his excessively naughty flirting, Yun Shishir felt shy and uneasy at the same time, but the man saw it all. He grabbed her chin and wrapped his arms around her waist, forcing her to completely match his body. "Do you know? The more shy you are, the more I want to see you under me, that mesmerizing look." Yun Shishir was so embarrassed that she grabbed his collar and reached out to cover the mouth that kept spitting out words that made her feel at a loss. Muyaja. Why was this man so different from usual when it came to matters of the heart? Usually, he was dressed in a suit and looked elegant. He gave off a refined and courteous feeling, like an elegant king. And in this aspect, whenever he was in the middle of matters, he would always say things that made her blush. "Stop talking." "Okay, I won't talk. Let's do it directly." As he murmured, he directly covered her small mouth that wanted to say something. His scorching hot breath brushed against her cheeks and neck. Finally, he invaded her small mouth and tasted her sweet and enchanting breath. She was forced to float under him. His increasingly violent attacks made her feel like a small boat in the middle of a raging storm, bobbing up and down on the sea. "So sweet." He bit her earlobe and said wickedly. He grabbed her little hand that was resisting and attacked even more ferociously. The long night was beautiful and enchanting. In the midst of the man's indulgent panting, he finally vented all of it. He possessed her until she couldn't take it anymore. She cried and shouted that she didn't want it anymore. Then, he hugged her waist and was willing to stop. In the midst of it, there was a moment in his mind when he thought of just giving it to her. This little thing was really like a poison. Even so, he still couldn't control himself and fell into it, drinking poison to quench his thirst. After they finished, Yun Shishir nestled in his arms. She was so exhausted that she couldn't even lift her eyelids. If she moved a little, her waist would let out a tragic cry. It was as if she had just experienced a war. She felt that her whole body was about to fall apart. She was so useless. She had really worked hard to train herself, but she still couldn't handle the man's overly strong physical strength. He supported her body and lowered his head, taking in her beautiful and seductive posture. If this little thing was in ancient times, she would be a demoness that could bring disaster to the country. Even the most clear-headed monarch wouldn't be able to control himself in front of such a stunner. With such a stunner, how would he have the mood to worry about the state affairs? When he thought of it, he felt that he was a little like a fatuous monarch in ancient times who was obsessed with beauties. Muyaja smiled playfully and hugged her tightly, eliciting a soft gasp from her. What's wrong? My waist is a little bit. Why is it? She laughed in exasperation. You're still asking me. You're really. The man murmured, but his hands were very gentle, and he began to knead for her. Yun Shusher dodged as if she had been electrocuted. Hey! Why are you like this? Alright, I won't tease you anymore. Chapter 1877. Although he was not a professional, his technique was especially gentle. Under his kneading, Yun Shusher let out a comfortable moan and her body relaxed a lot. Mu Yaja was angry and amused at the same time. How could this woman be so delicate? However, the more delicate she was, the more he wanted to dote on her. After giving her a massage, he carried her to the shower room and cleaned up the two of them, who were sweating profusely from the shower. Feeling refreshed, he carried her into bed, turned on the heater, and fell asleep with her in his arms. It was a dreamless night until the sun rose. Mu she called to wake her up. When Yun Shusher woke up, the sky outside the window was dark. In winter, the sun woke up later. At 7:00, the sky had just turned bright. The weather in the morning was very cold. She struggled with herself for a long time before she was willing to get out of the warm bed. At this time, a certain man was still immersed in his sleep. He hugged her domineeringly. His strong arms were like a pair of shackles that were difficult to break free from. She was in a hurry to get out of bed and freshen up, but she also had to be careful not to wake him up. After a lot of effort, she finally freed herself from his arms. She changed her clothes and walked into the bathroom. After washing up, she was ready to go out. Just as she opened the door, the man was sensitively alerted. Yun Shusher turned around and saw that the man's eyes were slightly open. Where are you going? The man's extremely hoarse voice sounded softly. Yun Shusher chuckled and walked to the bed. She squatted down and gently covered his forehead. Wifey is going to work. Darling, sleep a little more. So early. Mu Yaja was a little dissatisfied. He woke up from his sleepiness and covered the back of her hand. There was a dangerous look in his eyes. Why are you going to work so early? And I have to rush for an event. My schedule is quite full today, so I might be a little late when I come back. Mu Yaja narrowed his eyes. Qin Zhou, that D*MN vampire. This little thing's body was so weak, yet he could not bear to torture her. Yet, he made her schedule so full. Courting death. I heard that the movie you starred in did well at the box office. Yes. That's why I received a lot of notices. He had already signed several contracts. Mu Yaja's gaze became increasingly dangerous. This Qin Zhou really deserved to die. Could it be that he turned a deaf ear to his words? Taking advantage of his absence, he arranged such a full schedule for his woman. Yun Shusher didn't know what he was thinking. After being affectionate with him for a while, she hurriedly went out. As soon as she left, Mu Yaja picked up his phone and called Qin Zhou. Qin Zhou had just woken up, too. As soon as the call connected, Mu Yaja's voice, which was laced with anger, came through. You've arranged so many jobs for my woman, and she's always back in the middle of the night. Have you considered my feelings when you make her so busy? Qin Zhou woke up immediately. It was early in the morning, and the big boss was really full of resentment. Mu Yaja snorted coldly. It seems that you've turned a deaf ear to my words. I've already made the arrangements. Although Shusher is busy now, I've already informed the crew that she can leave after filming. There's no need for her to stay on set. It was already 1:00 when she came back yesterday. Chapter 1878. His infuriating tone made it easy for a man without a family to speak without feeling any pain. Mu Yaja was even more displeased. I don't like it when she leaves early and returns late. It's so tiring. As for the rest, you can do as you deem fit. I'll see how you perform. Without giving him a chance to explain further, he hung up the call. Qin Zhou stared at the phone screen with his mouth agape. His whole person was in a mess. What is this? What a domineering CEO. He muttered and looked at the time. It was past 8 in the morning, which was indeed very early. The weather was still very cold at this time. No wonder this big boss was angry. His heart must be aching to see his wife rushing to work early in the morning. He sighed and held his forehead. It seemed that the schedule had to be adjusted again. Yun Shishir had 2 jobs in the morning, so she rushed through them like a flying person. She bitterly grabbed a lunchbox and flew to the TV station to participate in a program recording. On the way, there was a traffic jam on the outer ring highway. Yun Shishir picked up her phone and prepared to watch the complete movie of The Green Apple. She did not have the chance to watch the movie after the post-production was completed, so she did not know how the overall effect of the movie was. Her assistant copied the movie to her phone, and while the traffic was busy, she watched it with relish. Romantic music, exquisite post-production rendering, thrilling plot, tear-jerking sadomasochistic love, Yun Shishir was engrossed in watching the video. She held the phone in her hands and was engrossed in it. It must be said that the effect was very different from what she had expected. Filming on the set was actually very boring. She had to read her lines and walk according to the script. She could not see her own expression at all, so the framework was rigid. In this aspect, Lin Fengtian was very strict. He had a good grasp of the movie, so in the script, be it her expression or lines, she had to act according to his design. She was almost like a worker, completing all the targets in an assembly line and completing the work. After filming, Yun Shishir's heart was pounding. When it came to acting, it was actually quite different from the movie. In the past, when she watched movies, she would always be so immersed in the touching scenes. Tears would immediately flow out of her eyes. However, when acting, no matter how heart-wrenching the scene was, it was very difficult for her to immerse herself in the feelings. Sad emotions needed to be repeatedly brewed. When she really could not squeeze out tears, she would shut herself in a quiet little dark room and constantly imagine sad things. With sad music, she could grasp that feeling and return to the set to continue. However, after excellent post-production, the movie was different. When the scene came out, it was clearly a joyous scene during the filming. But in the movie, when the bridge was played, coupled with the heart-wrenching BGM, sadness filled everyone's hearts. Especially at the end, Yun Shishir found it hard to control her sadness, and tears burst out of her eyes. When Mu Shi saw this, she did not know whether to laugh or cry. Shishir. Why are you so disappointing? How could she cry while watching her own movie? I really admire you. Yun Shishir said awkwardly, because it's very touching. Chapter 1879. Yun Shishir broke into a smile through her tears. Actually, I didn't notice it when I was acting, but when I watched it, after the post-production, this kind of sad emotion came out without any brewing. When other people watch their own movies, they laugh as they finish watching them. They even feel embarrassed after watching them. You, on the other hand, actually cried while watching it. Mu Shi changed the topic and praised sincerely, Shishir, your acting is really good. Do you still remember? Before the movie was released, many people doubted you, humiliated you, and looked down on you. But now, you've proven yourself with your capabilities. Your acting is really good. Yin Xiaochuan's character has been vividly portrayed by you. Don't flatter me. I'm just speaking the truth. How can this be considered flattering? Mu Shi smiled and then focused her energy again. After a long traffic jam, Yun Shishir finally arrived at the TV station and was almost late. Mu Shi was so scared that she broke out in cold sweat. The recording of this show was very important to Yoon Shur. Because it was the TV station's variety show with the highest viewership ratings, it was inevitable that other celebrities would be unhappy with Shur for being late and would say that she was acting like a big shot. Gu Xingze was supposed to participate in this episode's recording. However, due to certain reasons that could not be announced to the public, Gu Xingze could not participate. Helpless, the production team could only replace him at the last minute. This person was no stranger to Yoon Shur. Li Jiuxian. Seeing Li Jiuxian, Yoon Shur was suddenly reminded of the gossip Mu she had told her yesterday. When she thought of how Li Jiuxian was willing to sleep with the producer for the male lead of Lethal Beauty, she felt that this man was really degrading. In the past, she thought that Li Jiuxian's looks were outstanding, his acting skills were not bad, and his temperament was gentle and elegant. She did not expect him to be so unrestrained in private. It was really hard to imagine. Mu Shi's gossip really destroyed her worldview. What 9 dragons playing with pearls? What deep water bombs? The chaos in the industry had caused her to keep a distance from any celebrities. Hence, in the dressing room, the moment her assistant left, Yoon Shur heard the other senior staff gossiping about her. Sister Meng, the newcomers nowadays are all very arrogant. Look at him, he's just debuted and has only starred in 1 movie. He's already so arrogant. She's the Phoenix girl that director Lin personally appointed. She comes from a high family. How can she be the same as us? So what if you're Lady Phoenix? She just debuted and she's already so proud of being the female lead. It's obvious that she's looking down on us small C-listers. Haha. People who became popular overnight were indeed different. However, who knew how she got the role of the female lead? It's not easy to be the Phoenix girl. She just debuted and already has such good resources. After that, those people deliberately lowered their voices and whispered to each other. Yoon Shur couldn't hear them clearly. However, even if he didn't hear it clearly, it wasn't hard to imagine how unpleasant those words were. She couldn't be bothered. Chapter 1880. Mu Shi did not even need to think to know who these people were talking about. She coldly snorted and sarcastically said, "Why, are you jealous of our Shur?" The few celebrities turned around and, upon seeing that it was her, sneered at one another. What? What has it got to do with you? It's a cat catching a mouse. Shur is our artist. If I don't care about you guys gossiping about her behind her back, who will? Crazy. Forget it. Sister Meng, ignore them. We've hit the nail on the head, so they're angry from embarrassment. Mu Shi rolled her eyes, walked over, and slammed the teacup on the table with a loud bang. Her angry action shocked them all. What are you doing? You're jealous, aren't you? You're jealous that our Shur got the female lead role right after her debut, that our Shur proved her acting skills with her acting skills, and that our Shur's movie broke the 1 billion yuan box office, aren't you? I'd like to ask who you're trying to annoy with your sarcastic words. Aren't you guys just bullying our Shur for being good-tempered and letting you bully her? Her. Let me tell you, Shur can act in director Lin's movie because she's capable. Wild chickens like you want to act in director Lin's movie and be the female lead. Do you even have the chance to cross that threshold? With your narrow horizons, don't embarrass yourselves here. The few celebrities could not take it anymore after being ridiculed by her. What are you doing? Are you a firecracker? You can go off at the slightest touch. Are you crazy? Are you trying to find trouble with us? Who's interested in finding trouble with has-been artists like you? She sneered. I just find you guys especially pitiful. Look at your faces, you're the typical example of sour grapes. You even said that our Shur is pretending to be pure and innocent, but why don't you take a look at yourselves? Going to Korea for plastic surgery is more like an assembly line product. Look at your hyaluronic acid faces, do you think you can act it out? Don't think that you'll be famous just because you're in this industry now and have a sugar daddy. Acting still depends on your abilities. Her poisonous tongue was comparable to Qin Zhou's. His cunning and poisonous tongue made the faces of the few people turn white, making them feel embarrassed. One of the more experienced artistes suddenly jumped up from her seat and arrogantly walked in front of her. Her exquisitely painted face was like a Barbie doll, and a pair of eyes stared fiercely at her, as if she wanted to eat her up. Amazing. Even a small assistant nowadays is so rude. Who do you think you are? How dare you stand in front of us and criticize us? Are you looking for a beating? Her face was full of menace. Chapter 1881. For someone like you, it's better not to think about entering the entertainment industry. Instead, you should think about how to hook up with a rich and foolish sugar daddy and quickly pursue your dream of becoming a rich man. The artiste whom she was mocking was indeed a bar hostess. After obtaining a sugar daddy, she pestered her way into the entertainment industry and went for plastic surgery to get some resources. She had some fame, but she was only half famous. Even in this variety show, she was only invited by the production team to fill in the numbers. That person's face turned green and white, and she could not spit out a word. It must be said that where there were women, there would be war. Moreover, the entertainment industry was a place where beauties gathered. If one had to use a word to describe it, it was similar to the imperial palace in ancient times. Many artistes were like concubines in the harem. Those who were beautiful would naturally have a bright future. Those who were not beautiful would grit their teeth and go for plastic surgery to see if they were fated to be famous or not. Take this person, who was called Sister Meng by the younger generation, for example. She had an angelic face, but she was not fated to be famous at all. She acted in a few shows, but they were neither hot nor cold. Those who had a bleak future were like those concubines who had fallen out of favor in the harem. They were banished to the cold palace and disappeared without a trace. There were even some artistes who, although they were called celebrities, were nothing more than high-class prostitutes. They indulged in a life of luxury and forgot everything. Mushi especially looked down on such people. Before entering the entertainment industry, she had always thought that celebrities were like male gods and goddesses. However, when she really entered the industry, she realized that, although they were glamorous on the surface, they were actually foul in private. This person called Sister Meng was so angry that she could not speak for a moment. Mushi continued to mock her. Envious of our Shusher, what's the use of being jealous? If you're indignant, why don't you do it too? If you're so capable, come out with a movie that breaks 1 billion yuan at the box office. Let's see you in a different light. You. B*TCH, shut up. The heated argument alerted Yun Shusher and, at the same time, the show's producer. The producer walked over. When he saw Mushi, he smiled at her. The production team used to have a deep relationship with Gu Xingze, so he was familiar with her and knew that she was a lady who did her job. He then looked at the ashen faces of the artistes and frowned. What are you doing? What's going on? Producer Lee, it's like this, Mushi explained to them what had happened earlier. Sister Meng panicked and opened her mouth to explain. Producer Lee waved his hand and interrupted her. Backstage, there's so much media waiting for you, and you're still arguing. What? What a bad temper. Wu Mingjie, I'm warning you. If you still want to go on the show, shut your mouths. Otherwise, don't say that I didn't warn you if you don't perform well and get humiliated in front of the public. With that, the producer gave a few more instructions to Mushi before turning around to get busy. Wu Mingjie was so angry that her chest heaved up and down violently. She had nowhere to vent her anger, so she said sarcastically, having a background is really different. Even the producer is taking such good care of you. Bitch. If you have the ability, you should do the same. Wu Mingjie felt suffocated and uncomfortable all over. She glared at her fiercely and left the dressing room in her high heels. A few of his followers immediately chased after him. Chapter 1882. Yun Shishir was dumbfounded at the sight. Seeing her dazed expression, Mushi asked in confusion, "Shishir, what's wrong? Why do you have such an expression? You're so strong. I didn't expect you to have such a sharp tongue." She stuck out her tongue, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. "What? I've been with Qin Zhou for so long, so I naturally have to practice my glib tongue. Thank you for defending me, but there's no need to be calculative with these people. Shishir, it's not that I'm being hypocritical, but you'll never know the consequences of angering these people. You're well-mannered, but they're brainless. Can you be calculative with them?" Mushi did not fully understand. "You're just an assistant. To be honest, in this society, the strong preys on the weak. The fact that they can become famous means that they have some power behind them. If you really go head-on with them, you might end up hurting yourself." She understood that Shishir was saying this out of concern for her. Indeed, she had lost her rationality because she was too angry earlier. Just thinking about it made her shudder. These artistes financiers were quite powerful. If she went back and filed a complaint, she did not know how they would deal with her behind her back. She was different from them. She didn't have a strong backing. She smiled guiltily. "I'm sorry, Shishir. I wasn't rational enough. Thank you for your concern." She was especially grateful for Yun Shishir's kind reminder. "It's fine, but don't worry." Yun Shishir changed the topic and smiled evilly. "In the future, just leave such people to me. Since they said that she used underhanded means to climb up the ranks, she might as well let them see what kind of underhanded means she had." Those words just now had angered her. However, due to her etiquette, she did not show her displeasure on her face. When she returned to the dressing table, she received a new message on her phone. "Muyaja, when will it end?" Yun Shishir replied, "Filming ends at 4 p.m. Half a minute later, a reply came. "Which TV station? I'll pick you up." It was just a simple sentence, but it was filled with love and sweetness. Yun Shishir smiled and replied briskly, "Yasin TV station." Generally speaking, a variety show's broadcast duration was only around 90 minutes, but in reality, the recording process was extremely long. After the 4-hour-long recording ended, Muyaja had already rushed to the underground parking lot and was waiting quietly. Yun Shishir appeared on time. After getting into the car, she hugged his shoulder and planted a kiss on his cheek. "Hubby, you've worked hard." It was a warm nickname, but it was Muyaja. His thin lips couldn't help but curve into a doting arc. "Are you hungry?" he asked gently as he gazed at her face with watery eyes. Yun Shishir rubbed her deflated tummy and grumbled, "Of course, I'm hungry. I just ate a little for lunch." "What did you eat?" "Lunch." Yun Shishir had an indescribable look of resentment on her face. "I took a few bites and rushed to the next trip." "Why are you in such a hurry?" "You have to eat your fill for lunch." "Because I'm afraid that I won't be able to make it in time for the recording." "If you can't make it in time, let them wait. In the future, you're not allowed to work without a full meal. It's easy to get stomach problems from hunger." Such a domineering tone was his usual style. Yun Shishir didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Chapter 1883. Muyaja rubbed her fringe lovingly and tucked a strand of hair that had fallen to the corner of her eyes behind her ear. "Where do you want to eat tonight?" Yun Shishir licked her pink lips and suddenly suggested, "Why don't we go for Western food? I suddenly feel like eating fried steak." "Okay." The car slowly drove out of the parking lot. At the exit, Muyaja drove so fast that he almost collided with a speeding Mercedes-Benz. The car braked and steadied itself. Yun Shishir was shocked. She saw that the car was about to collide with the car. Fortunately, Muyaja controlled the car well. Coupled with the car's high performance, he managed to stop the car in time. A woman alighted from the Mercedes-Benz. Yun Shishir took a closer look and her face suddenly turned cold. What was the saying again? Enemies were bound to meet on a narrow road. The person alighting from the car was Wu Mingjie, who had a fierce argument with Mu Shi in the dressing room. The moment she alighted, she nervously walked to the front of the car to take a look. Thinking that they had collided, she heaved a sigh of relief when she saw that there was no sound. She was scared. This Mercedes-Benz was an imported sports car. Every time a layer of paint was chipped, they would have to import parts from abroad to repair the car. It was very expensive. Thinking of this, Wu Mingjie felt a lingering fear in her heart. She stormed up to Muyaja's car and angrily knocked on the window. Do you have F***king eyes? Do you know how to drive? Why are you driving so fast? Are you rushing to be reincarnated? Yun Shishir's face turned colder. This Wu Mingjie was reserved and humble in the show. When she smiled, she was as elegant and noble as a goddess. She was beautiful and moving. She did not expect that she would be so shrewish and uncultured when off camera. It turned out that one could not judge a person by their appearance. She looked bright and beautiful, but who knew what kind of disgusting person she was in private? Muyaja lowered the window expressionlessly and turned to look at her coldly. Wu Mingjie was stunned when she saw him. What a handsome man! Is he a celebrity idol? But she had been in the industry for so long, and she had never seen such a handsome person. His deep eyes, exquisite facial features, and handsome silhouette made him look like a god. When people see beautiful things, they will always be fascinated. However, when she saw Yun Shishir sitting in the front passenger seat the next second, she was even more surprised. Why are you here? Yun Shishir asked coldly, why can't it be me? Wu Mingjie looked at Muyaja and then looked at Yun Shishir. For a moment, she was a little confused. Her gaze suddenly fell on Muyaja and Yun Shishir's tightly intertwined fingers. Even though the two of them were sitting in the car, they were still tightly holding hands. It was obvious that the two of them were very close. Could it be? Who is he? Wu Mingjie narrowed her eyes, eager to explore the relationship between this handsome man and her. Yun Shishir suddenly smiled deeply and said, didn't you say that I was able to become famous because I had a sugar daddy behind me? As she said this, she glanced at Muyaja and smiled lightly. She said generously, this is the sugar daddy you were talking about. Sugar daddy. When Muyaja heard this, his gaze turned cold and sharp in an instant. When Wu Mingjie heard this, her mind went boom, and instantly exploded. What? This ridiculously handsome man was actually her sugar daddy. How was that possible? But looking at the intimacy between the two of them. Chapter 1884. If what Yun Shishir said was true, then it was really enviable. The sugar daddy behind her was so outstanding, rich, and handsome. Compared to her previous sugar daddies, they ranged from their 30s to their 50s. There were even old men who were old enough to be her grandfather. They were either balding, or had big bellies. Whenever she thought of that fat body pressing down on her and pleasuring her tactfully, she resisted the urge to vomit. Wu Mingjie was so jealous that her eyes were about to bleed. I knew it. For you to have such good resources, you must have a sugar daddy supporting you. However, Yun Shishir, you're so lucky to have such a sugar daddy supporting you. I'm so envious of you. After a pause, she suddenly flipped her long black hair charmingly. With one hand on her slender waist, she gently placed her hand on the car window. Sir, it's really bad of you to have taken a fancy to such a woman. Why don't you kick her away and I'll do something to you? As she spoke, she winked at him in what she thought was a flirtatious manner. She lowered her voice and said, "I'm really good in bed." He frowned. "Dirty." Wu Mingjie was stunned. "Aw. What did you say?" Mu Yaja ordered expressionlessly, "Take your dirty hand away." After that, without waiting for her to react, he pressed a button to roll up the car window. Wu Mingjie was caught off guard, and her hand was caught by the car window. She yelped in pain. Mu Yaja stepped on the accelerator, and the car sped away, almost brushing against her body. She was hit hard by the speeding car, and she fell to the ground with a face full of mud. Wu Mingjie stood up and stomped her high heels angrily. What kind of person is he? He's blind to have taken a fancy to that kind of white lotus. As she said that, she still felt that it was a pity. If she could have such a handsome sugar daddy, she would wake up laughing in her dreams. Who was that woman just now? After the car drove out of the car park, Mu Yaja asked plainly. A C-list celebrity. Yun Shishir glanced at him and suddenly said half-jokingly, "My husband is so charming. Someone actually dares to openly seduce you in front of me. Tell me, should I be angry? She can't compare to you, not even a hair on your head." Mu Yaja obviously didn't like her joke. He pinched her hand so hard that it hurt. "Hey! You can't take revenge on me like this." Yun Shishir protested softly. "Did she bully you? If she bullies me, are you going to stand up for me?" Yun Shishir said with a smile. Mu Yaja frowned, but he didn't seem to be joking with her. "Answer me, did she bully you?" "Hubby, you're so stupid. It's obvious that your wife is being bullied outside. She scolded me for a long time in the makeup room. I don't like her." After a pause, she said aggrievedly, "She's also an artist under Huan Yu." "Hubby, your wife is being bullied outside. Are you going to stand up for me?" Mu Yaja was speechless when he heard that. "As the lady boss of Huan Yu, you're actually being bullied outside by an artist under your management. What should I say about you?" Yun Shishir was silent. "Since when was she the lady boss of Huan Yu?" "Ah, that's right. Her husband was the big boss behind Huan Yu. In that case, wouldn't she be the lady boss of Huan Yu?" =__===. Chapter 1885. Yun Shishir poked her fingers in embarrassment. Mu Yaja caressed her lowered head and snorted. "She doesn't have eyes. I'll issue a blacklist order tomorrow to freeze her." Yun Shishir was amused by his protective attitude. She clapped her hands and cheered, "Hubby is mighty. How shameless." Yun Shishir suddenly clenched her fists and said, "Don't wait until tomorrow, let's do it tonight." I didn't want to be calculative with her, but this B*TCH actually seduced my hubby right in front of me. I can't take it until tomorrow. Mu Yaja, he suddenly smiled. "All right. I'll blacklist her tonight." Even he himself didn't realize how much he indulged and doted on this little woman. Hubby is the best. "All right, don't be unhappy. Let's go for dinner now." "Okay." Yun Shishir nodded in joy. Her phone suddenly rang at this moment. She picked it up and glanced at the screen. It was a call from her father. When the call connected, she heard Yun Yeqing's uneasy voice from the other end. "Shishir, where are you now? Are you busy?" "Dad, I'm about to go for dinner. I just finished work. Come to the police station on Shifang Road now." His voice was extremely hoarse. Usually, when he heard that she had just finished work, he would ask about her well-being. No matter how important the matter was, he would ask her to have dinner first. However, today's Yun Yeqing's tone was extremely urgent. Yun Shishir was stunned. "Police station. Dad, what happened?" "I don't know what's going on either. I just received a summons from the police station and just arrived. Come over right now." Okay. After hanging up, Muyaja seemed to have detected something unusual about this call. He asked curiously, "What's wrong?" "Dad wants me to go to the police station now. It seems to be something important." "Police station?" Muyaja frowned in surprise. "Where is the police station?" "Shifang Road." "All right." Muyaja turned the car around and sped toward Shifang Road. By the time they reached the police station, Yun Yeqing was already sitting on the bench. He was fidgeting uneasily as he rubbed his palms together. It was apparent that he was at a loss as to what to do. Yun Shishir walked over, put her hand on his shoulder, and asked with concern, "Dad, what's wrong?" Yun Yeqing raised his head and looked at her face. He wanted to say something but stopped himself. When he turned around, he saw Muyaja, who had parked his car, slowly walking in. "Hello, uncle." Muyaja called out politely. Yun Yeqing hurriedly nodded his head and curled his lips into a smile, but no matter how hard he tried, his expression remained ugly. Sure, the police station called me and said that there's a corpse they want me to identify. I was shocked when I heard it and thought that something had happened to you. When I rushed to the police station, I was told that the corpse had been dead for a long time. I don't know what's going on." Yun Shishir was stunned. "A corpse?" "Yes." Yun Yeqing nodded, his throat moving a little. "I heard that a fisherman found it when he was out fishing. At that time, the corpse was already badly decomposed, so it was impossible to identify its face." Yun Shishir asked suspiciously, "When did this happen?" Chapter 1886. The body was salvaged half a month ago. However, because the decomposition was too serious, the autopsy report has been delayed and has not been released. Yun Shishir and Muyaja looked at each other suspiciously. Since there's no autopsy report, the identity shouldn't be confirmed yet. "Has the DNA test been done?" Yun Yeqing shook his head blankly. "We don't know yet." "Then, how did the police contact us?" Yun Shishir was even more suspicious. "Since the identity of the body hasn't been confirmed, why did the police summon us to the station?" Yun Yeqing's lips suddenly trembled violently. His voice was hoarse and the fear in his eyes magnified. "Because after the investigation, it might be someone from our family." Sure, you should know that your mom, Li Qin, hasn't she been missing for a few months? And Yun Na, we haven't heard from them in the past few months. I always thought that they had run away from home. This time, the police summoned us to identify the deceased's belongings and clothes to see if we can find anything. I'm on tenterhooks right now. They had been husband and wife for decades. Yun Yeqing once hated Li Qin to the core, but it was impossible to say that he did not have any feelings for her. Previously, he and Li Qin had a huge quarrel and even proposed a divorce. Even if they were to get a divorce, she would still want half of the family assets. Yun Yeqing hated her for being too mean to Shishir and being a bully, while Li Qin hated him for being biased toward Yun Shishir and not caring about his biological daughter. After the quarrel, something happened to Yun Na. After that, at the hospital, the mother-daughter pair seemed to have disappeared from the face of the earth. He had thought of calling the police, but on second thought, there was no bad news after being missing for so many days. They probably ran away from home. Thinking that dirty linen should not be aired in public, Yun Yeqing sighed. Husband and wife parted on good terms after all. Since Li Qin had left the house with Yun Na, then so be it. At least, he could have some peace. Hence, he did not make a fuss about it. At that time, he still harbored some hatred toward Li Qin. But this morning, the police suddenly called and asked them to identify a corpse. Yun Yeqing was baffled and puzzled. "What corpse?" The police officer asked. "There are 2 missing persons in your family. One is your wife, Li Qin, and the other is your daughter, Yun Na. They've been missing for so long, why didn't you report them?" Do you know where the two of them went? Yun Yeching claimed that he had no idea. The officer laughed and gave a general account of the incident. He said that a fisherman had disturbed a highly decomposed corpse when he was out fishing. He heard that the corpse was salvaged from the waters of East Harbor. From the preliminary autopsy results, it was suspected that it was a homicide, so he was asked to identify the corpse. Furthermore, Yun Yeching was also listed as a suspect because he did not report his wife and daughter missing for so many days. Yun Yeching hurried to the police station. Due to an impromptu meeting, it had been delayed until now. He waited for an entire afternoon. Yun Shishir's face darkened when she heard this.